female chief operating officer of CAF, Africa's Football Confederation.
But there's no question that that money is really key, and investment is really key to African football and the development of it. And while I totally understand where UEFA and its member associations are coming from, I think Africa has really got to consider this carefully.
In the last hour, the Prime Minister, Andy Burnham, has called for Gianni Infantino to go. He says he's proven to be the wrong man to lead the organisation. Earlier, Infantino's key advisor, Carlos Caldero, quit over the proposal, saying he had no involvement in it and opposes it unequivocally. Newcastle's players have today officially been informed of Eddie Howe's departure, even while the club remains quiet on it publicly. His successor, Matthias Jaissler, is expected to join up with the squad for pre-season in Spain tomorrow. Howe's predecessor, Steve Bruce, told us it's not an easy job.
It's a big football club with big demands on you when you're the manager. And I remember me taking it when, I was speaking to Kenny Dalglish and Graham Souness, and, they're all reiterating what a difficult job it is.
And an EFL chairman has warned us the Premier League's financial offer to the EFL may not be the end of the saga. Every top-flight club voted for an as-yet unrevealed proposal yesterday, reported in some quarters to be $1.5 billion over 10 years. Peterborough's Darragh McAntony is hopeful, but says until they see the numbers, there's no deal.
Both parties want to break bread, do it in the right way, do what's right for the football family that we keep calling it, and make it fairer.
Remember, the EFL season in the form of the League Cup begins a week today with Middlesbrough Wrexham live on talkSPORT.
talkSPORT News.
An ex-funeral director is being sentenced over his failure to bury and cremate dozens of people. And Southport killer Axel Rudakabana has been charged with multiple attacks on prison officers. Emma has more in half an hour.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Today it's raining tyres in our centres, including top-notch brands like Pirelli. Visit your local centre or quickfit.com and book today.
I was in the north with some isolated thunderstorms in Scotland and Northern Ireland, dry and sunny in the south.
Good afternoon, this is Hawksby and Jacobs on talkSPORT. I'm Olly Clink alongside Luke Moore. Luke, what's coming up on today's show?
Well, we'll be joined by former Newcastle manager Chris Hughton for his take on Eddie Howe leaving the club, and FIFA are holding an emergency meeting after a strong reaction, to say the least, to Gianni Infantino's attempts to sell off the World Cup. So we'll also bring you the latest on that.
What a stand-up guy.
I know. Just misunderstood.
Yeah, poor fella. How about Marcus Rashford too? Could he end up staying at Manchester United? We'll have a chat about that, and we'll bring you the latest transfer news, including the future of Bruno Guimaraes with a potential move to Arsenal on the cards. Please don't do it, Bruno.
Pathetic by you. Is that what it's come to now? Begging on national radio?
Please.
Listen, we'll have all of that. Plus, we'll talk about the changes at the top of English cricket as well, and bring you more live racing from glorious Goodwood across the talkSPORT network.
It's just gone 5 minutes past 1. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Luke.
Good afternoon. Very happy to be here, Ollie.
Yeah.
Great to work with you.
You've come in hot.
I have. I caught some traffic on the way in this morning. Or this afternoon, sorry. But listen, it's not all about me. It's about the sport.
It is indeed.
Don't focus on my tardiness, Ollie. Might come across as unprofessionalism, mate.
Yeah, have a sip of water, though.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, I'll absolutely.
How are things, though? How's the summer been and
great.
everything like that?
It's been really good. Listen, we had a really busy World Cup with the Football Ramble. You know, we did shows every single day, and sort of getting back into kind of club football mode now. But loads of great stuff. I mean, I started back on the station last week, and we had the Vinny Junior thing. We had loads of interesting stuff happening. Of course, today we've had Eddie Howe, haven't we? And that's probably going to take some while for your heart to heal its savage wound over that, I expect.
Big time, big time. I did a big thank you to him.
I saw that.
Yesterday.
I got a lot of Olly Clink in my Instagram feed, just very emotional about Eddie Howe.
I can only apologise for that.
Stick
all
around.
those big eyebrows. Oh, it's Olly Clink.
Yeah, exactly.
But then, on top of that, the Bruno saga seems to roll on.
Yeah.
At the moment, what we understand is that the club are expecting him to be back at training on Monday. From what I understand, it was meant to be today,
right.
But there's been a bit of a delay with it, and now all parties have agreed that he'll be back at training on Monday. Alex Crook was reporting a bit earlier that Bruno's camp is saying it might be to try and finalise a deal to Arsenal. Either way, I mean, my heart's in my mouth. I had the moment, I don't know if you saw it, where he was away on holiday and he was fishing and he was wearing a Newcastle bucket hat. Yeah. And I've been clinging on to that, Luke, for quite a while. You
could have filled up that fishing lake with your tears, couldn't you?
I could.
I don't think it doesn't bode well at Newcastle at the moment, does it?
No,
I mean,
the
signs are all wrong, and it have been for a wee while now. And Eddie Howe leaving, and it looks like Bruno. I mean, I hate to say it because it seems like cruelty sitting next to you, but in these kinds of situations, 9 times out of 10, the writing's on the wall, isn't it? With a player like Bruno, So let's see. Lots of Newcastle-based journalists are getting stuck into a lot of cope and trying to kind of find reasons why it isn't going to happen. But to me, it looks like it probably will.
I'm just hoping that he listens to my begging today, Luke. To be honest,
I think it's going to put him off. If I'm honest,
do you think?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, he's going to go get me to Arsenal.
Please get me
as soon
there
as possible, because this is embarrassing. I'm very embarrassed for this guy.
How are you feeling about Pompey? You're a big Pompey fan as well.
I am. How am I feeling about it? I'll let you be the judge of that when I tell you that yesterday it suddenly dawned on me that I'm going to have to start watching Pompey at club football again in the Championship, and my heart just sank. It's the only way I can describe it. My heart just sank. I was like, and we've got West Ham away.
Are you that worried about it all?
Yeah, because I am a bit, to be honest.
Really?
Because I think that we've got a good manager. I don't know how long he's going to stick around for.
That's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think I'm in that position. Lots of people listening to this who support a similar profile of club will be able to relate to this. You kind of want your manager to get enough support, which arguably he hasn't really got financially at Portsmouth, and that's been a continuing bugbear. But also, you don't want him to do too well, because if he does too well, he's going to go. So ultimately, the best thing that can happen for us to keep the manager is to finish between about 13th and 17th next season.
Yeah, and if you stay in the Championship, you might be taking on the might of Newcastle next season, obviously, with the way it might go for us.
Yeah.
But obviously, there's a lot of pre-season football going on at the moment. I don't know if you saw, but Bayern play a team every year, Rotak Eger, and they're like a local team, and they lost. Oh, well, they beat them 15-0. What's the point? Do they need to end that? I mean, that relationship.
What they're thinking, what are we getting out of this? We're getting the swap shirts at the end. That's all we're getting.
That's just the social media minutes in the tank.
I often yeah, exactly. I often think to myself, what is going through the players on the wrong end of that scoreline in the last 10 minutes of the game?
Once you get to 13,
yeah,
do you know what I mean? Like, get a couple more.
Oh, the referee is doing the full 4 minutes at a time. He is doing that.
Yeah.
It's his afternoon as well. He's got a job to do.
Do you know what? It brought back memories for me, Luke, because growing up, I joined my local team, Bosham FC, under 12s.
It's funny, Bosham, isn't it? Because it's right next to Cosham, but that's pronounced Cosham.
Yeah, different.
It's mad.
Weird, isn't it? Should we call it Bosham instead?
I just think people should know that on the train line, the southern line up to London, Victoria, along the south coast. I'm sorry to cut your story off, but
go for it.
This is a really important interjection. You've got Cosham and Bosham next to each other. They're spelt exactly the same. And I just think if you're learning English as a second language, you've got no chance.
The only man who pronounces Bosham wrong is Big John.
Right, okay.
Obviously for him, he should move there. Really,
he has to be Bosham.
It has to be Bosham.
He has to. Yeah. Sorry, you carry on though.
No, that's fine. Bosham under 12s. We were a new team. We were put in the wrong league. It would be like a non-league team being put in the Championship.
Right.
Our record that season: lost every game.
Yeah.
Goals scored 4.
Yeah. How many did you get?
I got none. I was an inverted winger though, Luke. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, just wasn't in the right position.
Inverted so far. You're on the bench.
Charlie Dodd scored 2 of the 4 goals.
Right. Okay.
Good player.
How many did you concede?
Started with an 8, I think.
Did it?
It was up there.
It went downhill from there.
Yeah, it might have been triple figures as well. And it was a bad season. Obviously got relegated. My favourite thing is the player of the season. And to be fair to him, I think it's because he got quite a bad injury in one of the games. Player of the season, obviously goalkeeper.
Yeah, of course.
Had to be.
He's the only one absolutely digging out. Whatever happened, it's all right for you playing out in inverted winger. But you're probably not getting near the ball. He's picking the ball up all the time.
Yeah, he touched the ball the most.
He's doing the most work. He is doing the most work. He deserves that award.
Yeah, so we'd love to hear from you on 8, 10, 89, times when it's all gone wrong, even if it's just in one game. You might have done a full season like me. I mean, that was the end of my football career as well. How about you? A bit of a player, Luke?
Not really. I was enthusiastic.
Right.
Yeah, I played a lot, but I wasn't that good. I remember my biggest... My worst moment, probably my lowest ebb, was I remember getting in trouble with the referee because I thought the opposition team linesman was flagging all the time for offside when it wasn't offside. I got booked in the first half for complaining about it. In the second half, ball goes through, the linesman flag goes up again. I start kicking off again, get another yellow card, get sent off, and I realised on my way off that he was flagging for a goal kick.
Oh, no. No way.
Yeah, so
keep your mouth shut.
That's what my career was like.
Oh dear. So get your text in on that 8, 10, 89, and if it's a particularly good story, 03717 22 3344. But yeah, poor old Rotak Ego, and I think they need to end that with Bayern. They've got to end that.
I'd love to know if anyone's out there who can get in touch with us on text or whatever to let us know what they're actually getting out of that. Is it literally just a day out for them to hang out with Bayern Munich?
Yeah, I know.
In which case, just don't play the game. Just have an open day.
Just have a nice day.
Have a kick around.
About, five-a-side.
Headers and volleys.
Yeah, indeed. Plenty to come on the show a bit later as well. We'll be chatting to Chris Hughton in just a moment, former Newcastle manager, of course, on that Eddie Howe news. And we'll talk about West Ham a bit later too, Luke, because it looks like Amanda Staveley is looking to purchase a 25% stake in the club. Now, I've got to be honest, I think that's good news for them, given how she was at Newcastle. I think she's missed at Newcastle as well in a lot of ways. So that's very interesting too. We'll do a bit of cricket for Asnor, who you might know from The Traitors, but also is host of one of our new podcasts, How's That for a Pod? And we'll talk about the change at the top in English cricket too. And of course, Luke, we need to pay tribute to Franco Baresi.
Of course, what a legend.
Yeah, he sadly passed away at the age of
terrible
66.
news. No age either, actually, these days. I mean, that is a really, really sad bit of news. What a player. One of the first defenders I can remember who was, just right up there as being more than just a defender, legendary figure, legendary player. For people in my generation, just a massive, massive name.
Yeah, absolutely. So Tancredi Palmieri will be with us for that. I mean, you even think about the fact that the likes of Maradona would stand there and say he was the best.
There's a great clip doing the rounds, isn't there, of him with Baresi's shirt on saying this guy's some player, I'm going to treasure this shirt, So
yeah, we'll pay tribute to him a little bit later on. This is Clink and Moore here on talkSPORT in partnership with Toolstation. First Stop Toolstation. Chris Hughton is coming up next.
Absolutely devastated.
Go on.
If it was down to me, Eddie Howe would have been the manager for the next 10 years. I think he's been let down by the owners, the board. You've only got to look at the way the club's being run. I mean, how many directors of football, different people coming in, like, above him. His hands are tied. Like, I don't blame him. Like, I respect him for walking. 2 weeks ago, we missed out on a target, and we said about other targets. 2 weeks later, we still haven't signed anybody. We're signing young kids. We're losing our best players. Isaac told the club that he wanted to leave after the cup final. Now, if a player doesn't want to play for you, get rid of him. They had the opportunity to get rid of him. We had a deal agreed, Ekitike to Newcastle, personal terms agreed, medical booked in, fee agreed, in Newcastle. Hummed and hawed out selling Isaac. As soon as he wanted to know, they should have said, we've got a replacement, sell him, Ekitike signs for Newcastle. They messed about. Liverpool ended up signing Ekitike, and then the new Isaac was going to go as well, so the player would line up to replace him. We lost them both. And then we ended up panicking last couple of days of the window, and we're saying two lads that wouldn't get a game from me on a Sunday morning. And that comes from the club, the board. Like, why are you messing around? Like, you had the situation. They dragged their heels, tried to show, like, we're not going to be pushed around by a player. They got embarrassed. And then the manager's got to front up every single week in press conferences, talking, what's happening. He doesn't know what's happening. He doesn't even know who's director of football.
cross. Oh, what a goal! 2-0, Longstaff. Book your hotels and your trains. You go to Wembley, Newcastle United.
For the first time in 20 years, Newcastle United are a Champions League club again.
Newcastle under Eddie Howe have gone back to the big time.
Another chance here for Newcastle, and a shot comes in. Absolutely fantastic effort. Newcastle 4, Paris Saint-Germain 1.
With a header, and he scored. It's Dan Burn who scores. Newcastle United have won the Carabao Cup. It's been a long time coming, but this is immortal.
Eddie Howe, we understand, is to leave his position as Newcastle manager after 5 years in charge at St James's Park.
I don't need the tissues, Luke. Don't worry. Oh, it's hard to hear all that. I actually watched the highlights of the League Cup final about 15 times last night.
I bet, yeah.
Very, very sad.
Big bowl of ice cream, was it?
Yeah, a bit of Ben and Jerry's. Put Bridget Jones on afterwards, yeah. This is Clink and Moore here on talkSPORT in for Hawksby and Jacobs. Eddie Howe has left Newcastle United. Difficult news for me as a Newcastle United fan. Joining us now to look at that is the former Newcastle manager, Chris Hughton. Chris, how are you doing?
Yes, good afternoon to both of you. No, I'm doing very well, thanks, very well.
Good stuff. Obviously, we'd love to speak to you about Newcastle, but also you are here to promote a fantastic cause because Prostate United are leading a huge campaign to encourage more men to know about the risks of prostate cancer, seek an early diagnosis. What can you tell us about it?
Yes, so delighted to be involved. I'm just going to read something for a very short period of time, make sure I don't forget. But it was a campaign that was started in 2018. So Prostate United is a fundraising challenge that invites football club staff and fans to walk, run or cycle every day in October, raising money for Prostate Cancer UK. Football fans can represent their club, raise money and take them to the top of the fundraising table. It's the biggest grassroots challenge in football and has raised over 1.5 million.
Wow.
Amazing.
Fantastic, isn't it?
Great cause. Good on you, Chris. Fantastic.
It is. And I was on with Charlie Baker yesterday. We were speaking to Mick Harford, who's been one of the other ambassadors for this. Mick was just talking, Chris, about how easy it is. You know, it's not the kind of faff that you might think it is to just go and get checked. And it is just so important, isn't it, to make sure that we're saving lives?
It is, and I mean the reason I decided to speak up was because my story is a good story. It was a PSA level that I monitor over some sort of 7-8 years. It was picked up that it was slightly high, ironically in my time at Brighton. So I kept on top of my PSA level every sort of 6 months over these years, and it's only in the last year or so that it's raised to 11. That it was diagnosed as cancerous. So I caught it early enough, and that is the story. And the story is very much that the PSA level, PSA test is very, very simple. And the signs are there's a risk indicator on the website, and anybody can go on that and determine the reasons for you to have a PSA test.
Yeah, I think you're raising awareness like that, Chris. I think you'll save a lot of people, or help out a lot of people with that information. So good on you for coming on talking about it today. Should we talk about Eddie Howe? How do you react to the Eddie Howe news, Chris?
Saddened, I must admit. I know Eddie. I think he's a superb manager and has done a great job there. Was it a surprise? No, not a mega surprise. Maybe the timing was a surprise, because I know there was a lot of talk towards the end of last season, and I think post-season, I think there was a fair amount of talk. So maybe the timing is a little bit of a surprise. But it's obviously the fact that they've brought in somebody straight away. It obviously wasn't a surprise to the people in the know at Newcastle. But saddened by it, because I think he's a top manager. I think he's done a tremendous job there. Brought them, their first trophy in some 50-odd years. I think it's taken to the Newcastle supporters very, very much so. I think they see him as one of their own, and I think he'll be a hard act to follow.
He absolutely goes down as a club legend. Look, there were rumblings at the end of last season, Chris, just because the league form wasn't what it should have been. But then you look at this summer so far and the fact that Tonali's gone and Gordon's gone, and you tie into that Isak left last summer and potentially Bruno Guimaraes could be out the door. There's even been some links with Lewis Hall. Newcastle getting absolutely ransacked for their stars. With that in mind, can you blame him for what looks like a situation where he seems to have walked away?
No, I think on a personal note, his stock is very high. He's very well thought of, and of course has been spoken in very, very big terms before the present England manager was appointed. That Eddie might be one that would be very much up for the job. So, but sometimes I think in football, the timing is good. And I think for Eddie, who's been there for a period of time, you are right. They've released a lot of their players, and it's not just players that they've released; it's their best players that they've released, and that takes a fair sort of turnaround. I think they haven't been able to bring in. With the monies that they've got, they haven't been able to bring in the players that they would have liked. And I suppose this is the start of a new era. And I think when you have a start of a new era, sometimes it's not the worst time to go. And he'll be looked upon very fondly. And the new manager, head coach, will have a job to do in that changing room, and will need to bring in some players.
Yeah, I mean, how do you think it leaves the entire Newcastle United project, Chris? Because, I mean, you talk about the player. I mean, really, Newcastle United's transfer window so far has essentially been typified by not the players they've signed, but the players they've missed out on, and the players they've, of course, sold. And I understand, with big players, you can't really necessarily blame Anthony Gordon for going to Barcelona. And if Sandro Tonali wants to move on, fine. Usually players get their way. But Newcastle are supposed to be an exceptionally funded club with big ambitions, and they got the monkey off their back with that first trophy. To me, it gives really, really alarming signs that the project is essentially, if not dead, it's dying.
Well, it almost seems like a project that has to change, because I think if you are a football fan, I think you probably find it very difficult, and particularly if you're a Newcastle supporter, you find it very difficult to understand that you have the ownership model that you have, which is of course have huge amounts of money, and you're having to sell all of your best players. To those supporters, those two things don't come hand in hand, and I think it's very difficult for them to understand. So yes, of course the project is different now. I can see them bringing in younger players and of course not being able to sort of spend the types of monies that they are getting, or what they are selling their players for. So I think the project has changed. Possibly that's the reason why, it's a very young manager that's coming, because it will potentially be a different type of changing room. And that doesn't mean all doom and gloom, but it's certainly what it does mean is that this new manager is going to have to work very hard in this changing room. He's going to have to start well, and the club, will have to make additions to that squad just to satisfy the needs of the club and, of course, for these supporters.
Yeah, it looks like Matthias Geisler will be the man coming in. Chris, you did a fantastic job at Newcastle, got us promotion in 2010. Never get it down in Plymouth. But what advice would you give to the new man taking on this job?
Well, it's not really about advice, but certainly what he will bring. He's young. He'll walk into the door with a lot of enthusiasm. Probably the only thing is to put that pressure on the club to try and bring in the players that are needed, sooner rather than later, because there's nothing that adds more to a club, to a support, when they see new players coming through the door, and particularly if you've got new young quality players coming through the door. So I think it's an important one for the coach in what he sees in that dressing room. But he'll come in with lots of enthusiasm, I'm quite sure.
How difficult a job is it, Chris?
It's a tough job, and it's a tough job at this moment, because I think I'll go back to our starting position, is that Eddie Howe's done a fabulous job, and what he managed to do in his time was to bring in quality players. Unfortunately, some of them quality players have left. So it's a tough act to follow. It's always a difficult start. It's always a difficult division, and I think he will have to start well. I think really just to appease the supporters, because the supporters will see so many of these good players going out the door, and that also doesn't mean that there might be some other players that might want to leave. So I think he's got a fair bit of work there, but he'll come in with bundles of enthusiasm, and he's got to show that enthusiasm to this group of players that he's got.
Just a quick word on Brighton too, Chris. Obviously losing the services of Jan-Paul van Hecke. Looks like Danny Welbeck might be heading to Chelsea, 13 goals last season. But this is a club that's dealt with losing big players before. With Welbeck, though, is losing those goals up top a bit of a worry for any Brighton supporters?
I think the worry for Brighton supporters with Welbeck is not just his goals. It's his influence. He's a big influence around. Lewis Dunk, of course, is there, who's probably their oldest outfield player now with bundles of experience. But they tend to go young, and they tend to go inexperienced, and breed a very good style of football, which encourages to develop these players. So I think as regards worrying, no, because they always find a way. But Welbeck will be a big miss, and there's almost only so far that you can go, or so long you can go, in the model that they have, which is, of course, letting their best players go and to continue to find these good young players that they develop very, very well. So he will be a miss, but as always, Brighton, they will find a way, and this manager that they've got has done, I think, again, an incredibly good job. Had a difficult period at the start, but has found his feet very, very much at this club, and has done a super job. And I'm quite sure he'll do that again next season.
Chris, top man, thanks so much for coming on.
Cheers, Chris.
No, you're welcome. Thank you, chaps.
There we go, Chris Hughton, the former Newcastle and Brighton manager. And do check out Prostate United on their website and go and get a check, because it could save your life too. This is Clink and Moore here on talkSPORT. In just a moment, we're going to chat about the latest on the FIFA boycotts.
Liverpool are set to place an opening bid for Bradley Barcola, but what PSG want and what Liverpool are willing to offer at the moment seems quite far away.
Yeah, there's a goal for valuation, but that's normal. PSG's starting position is £145 million. And my information is that in terms of the fixed fee, Liverpool are looking at roughly 80 million, maybe some add-ons on top. But that's the starting point. And knowing this is going to be a difficult negotiation because of PSG's starting position and the fact that they haven't signed Yan Diomande, Liverpool might need to be patient. And my expectation is it might run a similar course to Alexander Isak. And by that, I don't mean the player will agitate and go on strike. But what I do mean is with Alexander Isak, Liverpool placed what they thought was a fair offer early. When it was rejected, they waited until right towards the end of the window and the deal got done in the final hours. And you may note that Newcastle went from not for sale to 125 million, and somewhere in the middle, they were asking for 150 million about 3 weeks before the deal got done. So PSG's starting position, 145, very normal in deals for that to come down by 20 to 25 million. If Liverpool are prepared to go up by 10 or 15 million, suddenly the parties are not that far apart. So the first bid likely testing the water, and then we'll understand whether PSG are grandstanding or they genuinely believe that they can get over £20 million more than the deal that saw Morgan Rogers leave Aston Villa for Chelsea at 117 million.
Life after football. For a lot of players, it means going into punditry. Some turn to coaching or working in the game in other ways. But what about the rest? some former footballers turn their sights away from the game, and there are a few big surprises. First up, from rainbow flicks to pancake flips. Ex-Chelsea and Southampton defender Ken Monku switched up his footballing career to buy a Dutch pancake house. Next, Everton legend Thomas Gravesen swapped out the high stakes of the Premier League for those of the poker room. Turned out the Danish international was pretty darn good at poker. He racked up a reported £100 million from his Las Vegas adventures. Remember former Chelsea goalkeeper Petr Cech? Turns out football nets weren't the only goals he was pretty handy in front of. After retirement, he became a goaltender in ice hockey. Same skills, very different surface. It's not all glamour for ex-pros though. 1966 World Cup winner Ray Wilson set up a very different kind of business. He became an undertaker after he retired. Finally, not many people can say they've won both a World Cup and starred in an Oscar-winning film. In fact, there's only one person in the entire world who can say that. Frank Leboeuf had already begun acting on the side while he was playing football, and his biggest role came some years after his retirement when he landed the part of a doctor in the Stephen Hawking biopic The Theory of Everything. To be honest, with all the dramatic diving in the game these days, there's probably tons of ex-pros who've got the acting skills to make it in Hollywood.
Strengthening the commercial side of the game is the natural next step. And above all, it is an opportunity, but not an obligation.
Several senior people within FIFA now are questioning these plans as well.
I think he does genuinely believe that FIFA could be a bigger brand. Like, he looks at the Premier League, looks at the Champions League and goes, well, they earn a fortune every year. We earn a good amount of money every 4 years. We're bigger.
I'm really dubious of anything that comes out of them. Any idea that comes out of them, I mistrust them. Greed seems to be at the centre of everything.
I think he could potentially get through it. So this is going to be the gift that keeps on giving.
Gianni Infantino must resign because he has dragged FIFA's name into the mud.
Not looking great for you, is it, Gianni? I'm afraid. This is Clink Moore here on talkSPORT. Yeah, this is the story, of course, that Gianni Infantino, the FIFA president, was hoping to sell off some of the World Cup to private investors, but there's been a very, very strong backlash. 55 of UEFA's member nations voted unanimously to boycott all FIFA competitions. CONCACAF, which is North and Central America, and the Asian Football Confederation have also rejected these proposals. We're joined now by the head of sport at the Times, James Restall. James, very good afternoon to you. Does this all feel very much dead in the water, this plan from Infantino at the moment?
From a numerical sense, it absolutely is. One of the most significant developments in a day of many significant developments was the Asian Confederation coming out in opposition to these proposals, because if they, UEFA and CONCACAF all unanimously voted against them, if this did get to a vote, it now would not meet the 50% threshold that Gianni Infantino has set.
The moment, to be fair, the moment the UEFA nations said they were going to boycott any future competition, it was kind of dead anyway, right? Because he could have technically got the votes, but you can't run a World Cup without the main European nations involved.
Exactly. If this proposal is about external investment into FIFA, who's going to invest at the levels that FIFA would want them to without a competition that involves Jude Bellingham, Harry Kane, Kylian Mbappe, Erling Haaland? The backspread of the Times this morning, we just highlighted all of those players who wouldn't be featuring at a World Cup if it didn't have Europe, and that's where that's the power that Europe holds in this whole row.
Yeah, I think, sorry, Ollie, but just very quickly, to me, the really interesting part of this is the idea that Gianni Infantino sees, as we heard in that package there, this opportunity apparently to make the World Cup or to make FIFA ever more rich and look to emulate maybe the Champions League or particularly the Premier League, which completely ignores the fact that FIFA is set up and is supposed to be a not-for-profit organisation that's run for the good of the game. And the very idea that you're kind of encouraging private investment for that purpose is completely anathema to what it's supposed to be anyway, right?
Well, Carlos Cordero, the senior advisor to Gianni Infantino, who was resigned earlier today in protest to these proposals, makes that point in his statement. He says that FIFA have quite deep reserves, and if this is about helping the development of football and giving members more money to spend on the development of football in their countries,
do it anyway.
They could do it. They could do it without the need for this external investment.
Yeah, absolutely, because he was asking those upfront payouts, of course, to try and get those votes, which obviously would be potentially attractive, especially for some of those smaller nations. But the other thing is, even if he is trying to get them to pay for and give them that money for these votes, there's been no plan set out for what these World Cups would actually look like. There's been no indication as to what this money would actually be doing anyway, and that's another part of this is that there's no clarity on it, and it all seems, doesn't it, as if it's pointing towards Gianni Infantino making money for his own gain.
Well, I think the another development that's happened and reported by my brilliant colleague Martin Ziegler, who's led the way at the Times on the reporting of this story. It's also emerged today that the discussion process is underway to look at a consultation for whether the World Cup should be expanded to 64 teams, and that process, whether it would recommend that that's a good thing or a bad thing, would be concluded by the time the proposals for the investment then went to a vote. So, while this has all been going on, it's very clear that the ambition is to keep expanding these competitions.
Where does this leave Gianni Infantino in terms of his position? Is it surely becoming untenable?
It does look increasingly that way. He's very much, as we're reporting in the Times, very much fighting for his future at the moment. Obviously, the day began overnight with that statement from FIFA saying that they were going to plough on with these plans, and it will be interesting to see as the day goes on whether they retreat from that stance or not. But yeah, I mean, having UEFA saying that they're going to boycott FIFA competitions, CONCACAF lining up behind them, and the Asian Federation now, and his own advisor leaving, and as we've just heard there, the Prime Minister criticising him as well. It does feel increasingly untenable, his position.
I mean, you never quite know with FIFA, do you? That's the thing. You never really know the kind of inner machinations of how it works, and there will be people who have made bigger mistakes than this and somehow survived in organisations like that. But to me, I read a profile of Gianni Infantino a while back. It was really interesting about how it's changed him as a person doing this job. And to me, it feels like another example of, power corrupts, but absolute power corrupts, absolutely, right? And he's not been able to see the wood for the trees here. He's ploughing on because he wants to be rubbing shoulders with Trump and with Kushner, all these kind of other types. And he's done that in a way that's made him fly way too close to the sun. It's going to end up costing him his job. Surely that's what's going to happen next.
I think when the analysis of this is done, once this saga ends, it does look like a massive overreach, and it looks like they clearly thought this was something that they'd be able to get agreed.
How do they think that though? How do they think that the game that's so popular and it's got so many eyes on it all the time, so many amazing journalists around the world, how do they think they could almost just push this through and no one would notice or complain about it? It's so out of touch. It's unbelievable.
I mean, they've been able to expand competitions consistently. We had the row over the Balogun red card at the World Cup.
Yeah,
there have been lots of things that have happened leading up to this, which have been able to happen, and so and so there's no reason to expect that they didn't think that they probably couldn't have thought they would have got this through.
Well, actually, there was a few people pointing out that the last World Cup might even have been used by Infantino almost as an advert for these private investors. And what I mean by that is the instances like the Balogun red card, but also things like the hydration breaks and making sure there's commercial breaks. Because if the private investors got involved, I think obviously what you would see is just over-commercialisation of the game to an even greater extent. And obviously, as football fans, that's not what we want. And we certainly don't want it with the World Cup. It already was grinding the gears of most fans, particularly over here, having to sit through those breaks. Everyone knew what they were for. But you'd only see that on a bigger scale were these plans to go through. So it's lucky that it looks like they're not going to.
Yeah, I think that's the critics of this proposal. That's been the biggest fear from the outset, is the fact that this would lead to more tournaments, the World Cup being played more than every 4 years, more expansion of tournaments, more things like hydration breaks being brought in, ticket prices continuing to increase at these competitions, and ultimately, if you think these things are a bad thing, then this isn't a good idea.
There was a bit of a discussion in the office of it earlier, because the situation you could compare this to slightly is the Super League debacle that we went through. And
it's kind of reminiscent of that in terms of response to it, isn't it?
I think that's it's the speed of the opposition, and that's the key thing. What ultimately brought down the Super League was the fact that football fans mobilised and they were able to protest outside stadiums. And very visibly, I think the clubs were quickly able to see that they'd made a mistake, and within 72 hours, it collapsed. And that was another brilliant story by Martin Ziegler. He broke that story in the Times, and by the end of those 3 days, the whole project was dead in the water. And already, we're a little over 72 hours now, but already it does look like these proposals are unworkable, but just because the support isn't there.
This is the latest chapter, isn't it? In an essential, real power struggle for the game between UEFA and FIFA as well, isn't it? I mean, UEFA's response being so strong is partly seen through the lens of the fact that both those organisations have been battling each other for a long old time now over who gets to control the game.
There is a wider discussion point here about what is the breaking point for football, because across the whole game, we are seeing competitions expand. The Champions League has expanded with its bigger group stage,
and we have the Club World Cup as a response.
We've got the club. We've had the Club World Cup has expanded. We're seeing even at the last World Cup, you saw players like Declan Rice and Bukayo Saka, playing through injuries because seasons are getting ever longer and the breaks are getting ever shorter. So I think there's a kind of wider reckoning point that the game's going to have to grapple with as to is this too much? Is this too much for the players? And ultimately, we want to watch. As football fans, everybody wants to watch a great spectacle. They want to see the best players performing to the best of their abilities. And if they're having to play ever more games, that's just not going to be the case.
And isn't it interesting? About a year ago, it seems to have been largely forgotten about now, but arguably the world's best player, Rodri, came out and talked quite eloquently about how much football was being played and how difficult it's going to be. And he threw ahead to the World Cup, this summer, saying, this is a ridiculous amount of football we're playing here. And he was kind of listened to for a bit, but no one really kind of picked him up on it. And he's now really arguably the world's best player. So, I mean, the players themselves are obviously thinking about this stuff too.
I think what will be interesting after this is if the game really does have a conversation about this issue. And that's and whether that happens remains to be seen. But this is ultimately at the heart of this. It would lead to greater expansion of all these competitions, and it would lead to more and more and more and more. And there's going to come a time where just the calendar can't support it all.
James, you've done fantastic work on this, as has your colleague Martin Ziegler. In fact, our very own Rory Jennings he said that Martin should get a knighthood and Pulitzer Prizes, etc. So if you could pass that on for us, that would be fantastic. But thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks.
There we go, James Restle, head of sport at the Times there. In just a moment, Luke and I will chat a bit about West Ham with Amanda Staveley potentially taking a 25% stake in the club. This is Clink and Moore here on talkSPORT.
Noticed that on social media, Curtis Jones liked the posts where Inter Milan announced Stones as a player.
He's acting like a spoiled brat. I saw his behaviour last night on the pitch.
This was after the friendly.
Yeah, I understand the frustration that you should have got the armband. He's been, he's a scouser. He's been there 20 years. Blah 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 blah. But to act like that and for it to carry on, because it went on for about 2 minutes.
Was it him and Dominic Szoboszlai?
Yeah, he was having a go at Szoboszlai, who handed the armband over, I think, to Tsimikas, and I believe Curtis Jones had the temper tantrum over that. It's just like that behaviour can't happen. Not from a graduate from the academy. He's too into himself. So if he wants to go,
source of his frustration not so much the captain's armband in a pre-season friendly, it's the fact he wants to leave, is it?
Yeah, okay, so he wants to leave. Well, okay, now Liverpool have to get the best deal for the football club. That's how it works, okay? You don't get to throw your toys out of the pram and do it slowly, knowing him, and then act like that. I just don't understand it. You're playing for one of the biggest football clubs in the world. You came through the system. Behave. Stop. That's all eyes are on you. That's not behind closed doors. That might go on in training and all those things, but you don't want to see that going on actually for millions of people to watch.
And it's not great for Andoni Iraola, fresh in the manager's.
No, and I'm sure he'll move past that. And I think Szoboszlai was asked in the press conference, and he didn't even talk about it. But it's just you hate seeing stuff like that. I really do. I think it's so petulant. Do you know what I mean? So, and then when you're liking Inter Milan's post, okay, we get it. You want to go to Inter Milan, probably last 5 minutes out there.
Well, it's a very empty London stadium, but it's going to be championship football for the first time in 14 years.
Fernandes with the cross. It's down by Souček, poked in by Bowen. It's 1-0 West Ham United.
I don't think he's going anywhere, son, and I think he will rip up the championship. Don't you worry yourself about that.
The main motivation for me is staying and bringing this club back into the Premier League where we belong.
He's made the decision what suits him and his family and moving forward now and being the best part and giving himself the best version of himself over the next coming years.
It's not surprised me that he stayed at the football club, and credit to him for it in this transient world that we live where players move on at the drop of a hat.
Well, to keep Jarrod Bowen, haven't they? West Ham down in the Championship. This is Clink and Moore here on talkSPORT with me, Olly Clink, alongside Luke Moore this afternoon. Before we get into West Ham, Luke, earlier we were talking about the fact that Bayern Munich beat local side Rotak Eggern 15-0 in pre-season.
Yeah.
They do it every year. Just rein it in a bit, lads. But we were asking when that's happened to you. It might have been a whole season like it was for me when I played for Boston Under-12s. Paul says, my school team had lost 32 out of 32 games. Our last game together, we were leading 4-3 with 2 minutes to go. I scored 2 own goals and we lost 5-4. The PE teacher refused to let me on the coach home. I had to walk 3 miles back. And do you know what, Paul? You deserved it.
Yeah, but the thing is, he doesn't say how old he was then. If he was like 11, that's horrible. If he was 16, it's kind of, fair enough.
Yeah,
take your medicine.
Come on. There's one here from Andy. In a local Sunday League Cup final, in the last minute, we were 1-0 up. The ball came through and our keeper shouted, "Clear it long." The ball hit the top of my foot, looped over the keeper's head into an empty net to make it 1-1, and then headed in an own goal in extra time to lose lose 2-1. This is Jonathan Woodgate stuff, isn't it?
These are the only ones that people are actually admitting as well.
Yeah.
There's probably people out there who are far too ashamed to text the national radio station.
Also, I want a battering, like a thrashing, to a 15-0.
I think I've been on the end of a 10-0 before.
Have you?
I think so, yeah.
When was that?
Would have been years ago playing Sunday football, I think. Yeah, occasionally in Sunday football, it felt like from memory, you'd get sometimes paired up in a cup game with some ridiculous team. And I'm pretty sure I've lost at least.
And none of them have been out the night before. And your whole
and they've all got moustaches, and you're about 14. They look bigger than you. Yeah. They've all got eyebrows like you, Ollie. Very aggressive eyebrows.
Anyway, keep them coming in on 81089. Luke, on West Ham then, the former Newcastle co-owner, Amanda Staveley, looks like she's going to be purchasing a 25% stake in West Ham. That would be a good thing for West Ham United. And that's just me speaking from experience as a Newcastle United fan. She was obviously part of the consortium that took over from the Mike Ashley era. But Amanda Staveley was actually a very important figure, I think, in those early days and sold the project really well to some of the players that were coming to the club. Kieran Trippier came in that first January transfer window. Bruno Guimaraes came in. I mean, we were 19th in the league. And she was also very important.
Well, Eddie Howe as well.
And Eddie Howe, and was part of the board that appointed Eddie Howe. And I think with her, the key thing was the communication. She was just very, very good at getting across what was going on to the supporters. And let's be honest, if there is a club that needs that, it's West Ham United, given what's been going on there during the relegation season too. It just feels like there's a complete disconnect between the board and the supporters.
Yeah, I mean, the fans have been dissatisfied, to say the least, for a very long time now. The stadium, the ownership, the recruitment, it's not been good. Obviously, they flirted with relegation for a while. They eventually went through the trapdoor, and now they've got a big challenge in their hands in the Championship, which is a really, really tough league. The big bonus for them, I mean, I'll defer to you on the Amanda Staveley thing because you've had her at the club that you support, so I've not had that situation. But the big thing for me would be the Jarrod Bowen situation. The Jarrod Bowen staying is huge for them. I was actually pretty surprised by that because he would have had his pick. I know he's got really, really strong ties to the club, and I'm not just because Danny Dyer's his father-in-law. He obviously loves the club. If he can stay fit and he can stay motivated and stay firing, and he's really on a mission to get him back in the Premier League, put it this way, I'm not very excited about my team coming up against him next season. We'll actually be coming up against him next week, I think, or this weekend. So it's
Do you think in terms of players that are at the top of their game when they're in that division, he might be potentially the most talented or the best player to be in the Champions?
He's in the conversation. I mean, you absolutely in the conversation. I mean, this is a guy who it was fairly controversial he wasn't in the England squad.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it was surprising because Tuchel had played him a lot and liked him, and the fact that he missed out was a bit of a surprise. So this is a pretty good England squad in terms of the groups of players they've got on the talent. So he's definitely got to be up there in the conversation. I mean, just a few off the top of my head, I would say Adel Tarat's got to be in there.
Streets I forget.
Yeah, definitely not. Yeah. I won't forget either. Alexander Mitrovic. I think
broke the scoring 46 goals.
Broke the scoring record, I think. Oliver Norwood was brilliant in the Championship. Peter Whittingham, the late great Peter Whittingham, was brilliant in the Championship.
Ruben Neves.
I mean, no one could get near Ruben Neves.
Oh.
Ruben Neves was a ridiculous player in the Championship.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good ones, right?
Yeah.
And there's also been some great ones come through. At clubs like clubs who we now think of as established, like Premier League clubs like Crystal Palace and stuff like that. So, I mean, Michael Elise played for Reading. I mean, I suppose you're talking about players at the top of their game.
This is it, because you're right, because you could say, oh, well, Harry Kane was at Leicester, for example, but he wasn't the Harry Kane that we know and love. What I mean is obviously Jarrod Bowen right now.
Yeah.
Like you say, a player's just missed out on getting in the England squad, being down in the Champions.
That comes with its own pressure as well, Ollie. You think he's going to be miles better in terms of ability, which he is. I mean, he came through at Hull, didn't he? And he played on that kind of wide forward role for Hull as well. That's where he kind of made his name. So he will know what it's like to play in that division. But it comes at you fast, the Championship, right? You know that. And so he has to stay fit. He has to stay motivated. He has to be able to deal with a load of game, the sheer workload of games and stuff like that. So, but definitely on ability, he's definitely in that conversation.
I was going to say, look, we know that he's staying at West Ham United, but where would you put his ability? Were you expecting clubs in the so-called Big Six to maybe be coming in for his services? I remember a few people on talkSPORT suggesting that the likes of Liverpool should try and come in for him alongside another one to maybe fill the gap left by Mo Salah. I'm not saying Jarrod Bowen's the Mo Salah replacement, but do you think that's the level of quality that Jarrod Bowen is at?
Well, he's 29 now, so he's probably in the peak of his career. I mean, he has shown that he can be a consistently really good performer in the Premier League in a patchy team, right? So we don't know his ceiling, do we? Because we haven't seen it. And, obviously he'll back himself to play for a really big club. Would Liverpool be beyond him? I don't know, because we'd have to see it. But I thought from the very start he was very, very top quality, the highest of quality in terms of a player. I definitely think he could have gone to a good Premier League side, for sure. Obviously chosen not to do that. Does he go in at Man City or Arsenal? Probably not. But I think other than that, I mean, I'd love to hear the argument against why he doesn't, because he's an exciting player. He's always positive, always wants the ball. His numbers are decent. He's been consistent. Like I say, in a team that's not been fantastic. He got 2 seasons ago, he scored 20 goals for West Ham.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in all competitions. So, I mean, he clearly can do it.
Yeah, I wouldn't have minded at Newcastle,
No, exactly. That's a great example.
Yeah. So
because they're losing everyone.
Yeah.
They just take anyone.
I'll take anyone.
Yeah,
you, Luke.
Yeah, no,
you lost 10-0.
Not at 45, you wouldn't.
But yeah, when you look at the Championship, just quickly, obviously you mentioned there your Pompey. They'll be up against some other big hitters too, won't they? Obviously, with the likes of Wolves down there, Southampton on -4, so you're above them.
Southampton a big hitter? Not in my.
Cheats though, I guess.
You would say that. I couldn't possibly.
Yeah, you couldn't say that, could you? No, not at all.
I wouldn't drag a national radio station through the mud that way, like you just have, Ollie. But I don't think they're not a big club. Let's be fair.
Okay. What? Pompey bigger?
Yeah.
Big.
Won the league.
That's true.
Has Southampton ever won the league?
Yeah.
Have Southampton ever won the top flight? Text in and let me know.
Then you've got Wrexham. You'd imagine be up there, and maybe Birmingham as well with the backing that they've got. So yeah, we're looking at another very competitive.
It always is. It's always the same. Like I've never won. I mean, the team I support have been in the second tier a lot, and I've never once that I can remember been, the Championship should be quite easy this season. It's not. It's a slog. It's really hard. I actually thought Portsmouth were in big trouble last season. They lost heavily at Loftus Road towards the end of the season. They lost 6, I think. And I thought that was it. But somehow they managed to turn it around and put a bit of a run together and survive. But what you also get in the Championship as well, all these really strong teams, some who are on the way up through League One, some who've just come down from the Premier League, you do always seem to get a handful of teams who are in a real financial crisis, which for Portsmouth last season, who had the second lowest budget above Sheffield Wednesday, kind of helped them out, because Sheffield Wednesday were literally bankrupt, which is sad to say because they're an amazing, illustrious, historic club and we don't want to see them down there. But that kind of helped Portsmouth out a bit as well. That said, the only place I think they won last season was at Fratton Park, so good on them.
Yeah, you've got to give them something else. By the way, the Commonwealth Games is well underway in Glasgow. talkSPORT bringing you all of the action. Here's our reporter, John Cushing, with the latest from the day so far.
Yeah, we're going to start with the boxing because Caitlin Rainey has won Scotland's first ever women's boxing medal at the SEC Centre in the welterweight division. England's Lauren Mackey, also a bantamweight bronze medalist this morning, and fighting for gold tomorrow will be Northern Ireland's Casey Rock, who beat Rainey and now faces England's Shasha Hickey in the welterweight final. Patrice Mugazli and Djemi Shitu also won their semi-finals earlier on today. Damar Thomas, who is England's super heavyweight, will also box for gold or silver tomorrow, after Will McCartan of Northern Ireland pulled out of his semi-final tonight. So look, there are 12 more home nation fighters in action this afternoon and this evening. Rosie Eccles, Michaela Walsh, Chantel Reid, all coming up in the next hour. We'll keep you up to date with that. Now, remember in the Winter Olympics when British Skeleton weren't allowed to use designer helmets? Well, Australia, Sophie Edwards and Felicity Wilson-Hoffenden at the Sir Chris Hoy Velodrome this morning have been disqualified in the individual pursuit for using altered helmets. Apparently it changes the morphology of the rider. In other words, it makes them go faster. They've been thrown out of the competition. Wilson was due to ride off for a bronze against Scotland's Erin Boothman. So controversy in the cycling here in Glasgow. And here at the Athletics Stadium this morning we saw Jazz Sawyers, team captain, jump 680 to book her spot in the long jump final. She won silver in Glasgow 12 years ago. And Mel Woods is a Commonwealth champion. That's confirmed. The 31-year-old former PE teacher has won the rerun of the 1500 metre final, but described the whole process as poor. Tickets are still available at glasgow2026.com. This is the Commonwealth Games. It's live across the talkSPORT network.
John, thank you. Altered helmets. Luke, you like to cycle. You've got an altered helmet?
No, just a standard one I bought off Amazon. But listen, you should stay safe when you're cycling, particularly in London. It's important to wear one. Always wear a helmet, guys.
Yeah, and make sure it's not altered.
Don't adapt it yourself.
Don't forget, by the way, Natalie Sawyer and Olympic gold medalist Greg Rutherford will bring you a special show tonight talking all things Commonwealth Games. Tune in from 7 over on talkSPORT 2. Up next here on Clink and Moore on talkSPORT, we'll chat about the latest changes at the top of English cricket.
I mean, I wake up every morning now feeling so lucky that Unai Emery's still there.
Yeah.
Because people laugh about these FSR, whatever they're called, financial fair play rules. They're a joke. Look at Aston Villa, right? Finish in the top 4, win the Europa League, and then your best player, Morgan Rogers, leaves. Why can't Aston Villa keep hold of their best players and then say, we're going to get to spend 150 mil like Chelsea, Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal, and then why can't we go and challenge for the title? These rules, they're there to keep the so-called top 6 there.
Yeah.
And this season coming, the so-called top 6, they call it, will finish in the top 6. I'm sure of it.
Gab,
Aston Villa, with what they're able to bring in, I'm going to be able to challenge.
Gab, I've had a
surprised.
conversation with you.
This time last year, that Unai Emery, this time next year,
Yeah.
we'll be lucky to have Unai Emery as the manager because it's great on every manager.
Gab, I've had a conversation with you before, and I've said that if a big club like Manchester United comes in for your manager or players, they'll leave. And you're like, no, that would never happen. How's Yuri Tillemans working out for you?
Yeah, but that's a release clause, isn't it? That's a stupid release clause of 35 million.
Could have stayed.
No, I agree. I don't blame him. He's 29. He's won. He scored a great goal in the final Europa League. Manchester United are a bigger club than Aston Villa. I understand why players would leave Aston Villa. But what I'm saying, Andy, is how, if it's Everton in a few years, if it's Sunderland, whoever it is that wants to try and break into that top 4 and try and do amazing things as a football club, you're restricted.
Talk Sport.
Good afternoon, I'm Toby Gillis. The pressure on Gianni Infantino continues to build, both from within football and without, over his plan to sell a stake in the World Cup to private investors. Andy Burnham has called for him to go, saying he's the wrong man to lead the organisation. Earlier, the Asian Football Confederation joined CONCACAF and UEFA in condemning the plan. Former FA chair David Bernstein has told us that takes us to a threshold that might see Infantino out of FIFA.
You feel maybe the groundwork is being laid for a vote of no confidence because there were 220 national associations, or somewhat that number, and if half of them or more than half vote, I think he would be out.
In the meantime, FIFA says it will make a final decision on expanding the World Cup to 64 teams on August the 14th. That's before the final vote, assuming it gets that far, on the private investors issue. AC Milan say Franco Baresi is forever after the legendary defender's death at just 66 years old. His only club says the World Cup winner embodied the heart and soul of the Rossoneri. Former Football Italia host James Richardson told talkSPORT he won Milan's Player of the Century, which says all you need to know.
Think of the players that they had in that century. It's extraordinary. And this guy, never given the Ballon d'Or because the defender, sure, but he was just extraordinary. He was a rock everything was built on.
As Newcastle's players prepare to meet their new boss, Matthias Jaissler, tomorrow, they're not likely to be joined in pre-season in Spain by Bruno Guimaraes. He's asked to delay his travel until after the weekend, with Arsenal now understood to have a deal in principle to sign the Toon captain. Former Newcastle manager Steve Bruce says Jaissler will have the same issues that Eddie Howe had.
For clubs like Newcastle and Aston Villa, who want to progress and want to compete with the big boys, it seems as if they can't because of the financial restrictions.
There's loads more at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
A funeral director has been sentenced to 20 years in prison after admitting 67 offences, and the Southport killer has been charged with 3 assaults on staff while he was at Belmarsh Prison. Emma has more in half an hour.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit, where we've got a wider range of premium tyres than Britain has rainy days. Visit your local centre or book at quickfit.com today.
Showers in the north with some isolated thunderstorms in Scotland and Northern Ireland. Dry and sunny in the south.
Got a shout here from Lee the Lion, Luke, about top championship players, best players in the championship. Tim Cahill from Millwall.
Yeah, good player. Great player. Yeah, really tenacious, great midfield player. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, nice one, Lee. We've also been talking about absolute thrashings because Bayern Munich battered a local team 15-0 in pre-season. We have a text here in Year 7 at Little Lever School. We beat Within School 24-0. This isn't about your wins. It's about when you've been battered.
Exactly.
But we'll take it.
We need to hear from someone from Within School. We need to get them on for a phone-in.
Yeah. 24-0. We were a freak year group. We became the first comprehensive school to reach the national cricket final as well. What?
I mean, that football score is a cricket score.
It is a cricket score, yeah. Unfortunately, we lost, but we did beat Oakham School in the semis, who featured Stuart Broad.
Claim to fame.
There you go. Talking of Stuart Broad, let's chat a bit of cricket now. Our new podcast, How's That for a Pod? We're down at the Oval this week, getting the inside track on the New Look 100 competition this summer. They interviewed fans and players, CEOs, and the 2019 World Cup winning captain and Sky Sports commentator Owen Morgan. During the interview, Owen spoke about Harry Brook and explained why, despite the fact that Brook wasn't given the Test captaincy, he's such a unique and brilliant white ball captain for England.
To start with, I think Harry Brook is a fantastic captain. His biggest skill that I've admired since he's taken over is his ability just to compartmentalise what's going either on in the field with mistakes or stuff that he's done off the field and then come to the ground and still perform. It's remarkable. It's an incredible skill that very few people have and captains need, but it sometimes takes time to develop that skill. I think tactically he's good. His batting speaks for itself. He is clearly displayed as a white ball captain that he can definitively go and captain, make decisions, maybe even make some bad decisions, and then still and go bat like Harry Brook that we know. Guy averages 50 in Test match cricket, and he's going to go on to be one of our greatest ever cricketers.
I'm delighted to welcome in a man who was part of that interview, one of the presenters for the brilliant new How's That for a Pod? It's Faraz Noor. Faraz, how you doing?
I'm good, Ollie, mate. How are you?
Yeah, really good, thank you. We should start really with that England captaincy. We'll come on to the coach change in just a moment, but Harry Brook, is it a bit of a surprise that it is Joe Root returning as the Test captain? Would you have liked to have seen Harry Brook take charge of the Test team too?
I tell you what, when I seen Root as captain, it wasn't a surprise at all. I think England just wanted to go safe and give it to him. I think the fact with Harry Brook is it would be exciting, especially listening to Morgan there, obviously England's greatest captain. It would have been exciting to see, but I think if you're going to captain all three formats, that's nigh on impossible. I think it's so hard to do all three, especially with how busy the schedule is as well. You've sort of got no time to rest whatsoever. And I feel as if obviously they know Root's done it and he can do it, even though it seems to age him and weather him a lot. And he definitely doesn't want to do it. It's just giving it to him as a safe option. But I tell you what, I do think Harry Brook would make a great red ball captain. Do
you have any concern for us that the Joe Root's batting's going to suffer when he takes this job again?
That was one thing that I did think, because I know previous time his average did drop. It was about 53 and it dropped to about 46. And he's been in the runs as of late, hasn't he? I really want to go see him break Tendulkar's record sooner rather than later, which he definitely will. But I just really hope this doesn't hinder his performances and things like that. But in the back of my mind, I feel as if it might be, especially with the way the England side is now coming out of sort of the heavy defeats that they've had in the red ball. I think the one glowing thing for them is that they are playing Pakistan, and Pakistan aren't the strongest of sides. So that'll probably be good for them. But yeah, that's the thing that I'm worried about, that it will cause a dip in his performance.
Stephen Fleming's come in as the new England Test head coach, another Kiwi head coach. What are your thoughts on that, Faraz?
I tell you what, I think if you couldn't get Andy Flower, Stephen Fleming's a great shout to get in. He's obviously had a long stint at Chennai Super Kings, successful side in the IPL. And I think having a laid-back Kiwi, it probably does do him all right. But what is important with Stephen Fleming, of what I've seen, is he's very detailed, he's very meticulous, especially in his prep, in how the opposition plays. He likes to analyse the opposition quite intently. And I feel as if that prep sort of will help England just have a plan and nail that plan. I feel as if it will be really important. And from the sounds of it as well, obviously in his playing time, it just sounds like a great person. So I feel as if his sort of willingness as well to want to develop the likes of Harry Brook and see how Root performs as captain as well, I think it's really promising.
Yeah, I mean, England's record in Test series recently hasn't been great, has it? Was it one series win in the last 6 or something like that? And there's obviously they've been beset with off-pitch problems as well. Like, what are the first challenges that Stephen Fleming is faced with as he takes the job, do you think, for us?
I think the first challenges will be maybe even the batting order. I know Bethel's injured now and he's going to miss the 100. It's sort of seeing who he'll bring in to replace that and bat at 3. Also, you've got an all-rounder missing as well, so it's bringing who's going to bring an all-rounder in to replace Stokes. I feel as if, to be fair, England have got a couple options there in Sam Curran and Rehan Ahmed. I'd love to see Rehan Ahmed being given a chance as well in that side, in that slot. I think he's a great player. And Sam Curran, we know he's a fantastic cricketer, can make things happen with the ball, and he's solid with the bat as well. So I feel as if sort of just nailing that number 3 slot with Bethel being injured, that might be a bit of a struggle. But I think, to be fair, apart from that, the side maybe picks itself at this stage.
You mentioned Ben Stokes there. Do you think it's all a bit romantic, the idea that he might return for the Ashes next year, or do you think that's it now with Stokes in England?
Well, previously, I did think, it could be a possibility. But now, I think, especially with him scoring runs in the Metrobank Cup with Durham, I think he's just sort of got that pressure taken away from him as being captain of England. And I feel as if he's just enjoying his cricket again, because when he said he was done, to be fair, he did seem like quite drained and things like that, especially the situations going on off the field didn't really help. But I think that him enjoying his cricket again at Durham, at home, will be great for him. And I think that's the way it's going to stay. And I don't see him coming back for England, to be honest.
Right, something I've got to ask you about, by the way, is the Clicky Ponting gate. This is Saltburn Cricket Club. They got in a bit of trouble because one of their fielders was clicking their fingers, and it sounded like the batsman had nicked it to the fielder. But am I right in saying you're from the northeast and it's up round there? Have you played any cricket against Saltburn?
Yeah. No. So Saltburn are obviously in the NYSD as well. So. We've played Saltburn a lot. I haven't played them this year because obviously availability. I haven't played too many games, but played Saltburn a lot. I've not played the particular player, but I've played against Saltburn's seconds before. Played against Saltburn's first team before, and to be fair, especially the first team, like they're really good lads, and that the second teams as well. They're quite decent lads as well. So when I seen it, honestly, I was so surprised. It was absolutely ridiculous because we had a lad who told us about it before, and obviously the local Facebook was going absolutely off it. All the comments and all the videos, mate. Everyone was probably kicking off in that. But yeah, when we seen it, it was absolutely mental. But you can't be doing that, can you? The bad thing is as well, and we were talking about it on the pod, on How's That for a Pod, is like you've got people working all week. They'll look forward to that cricket on the weekend, especially second team as well. You've got younger lads coming through, 15, 16-year-olds, developing. And then you get given out like that. It's not only waste of a weekend, but that can upset people's weekend in the development in the game as well. So on that side, it's not on whatsoever, is it? But yeah, when I seen it, it was mental.
No one's pointing out that they weren't going to get any LBW decisions if he keeps clicking. So a bit of batting that. It's always a bit of batting it. What's going on? Not a single LBW decision all season.
Tell you what, the keeper's absolutely buzzing, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
Flying. He's got about 34 grams on. Can't go wrong.
Might get in the England team, potentially.
I know, it's like...
by the way, Fraz, people will know you from the Traitors, of course. And look, you're a massive cricket fan. You started this excellent podcast alongside Sam Ellard and Georgia Heath as another of the contributors, talkSPORT's very own, of course. But how is it for you, having gone from doing that show and now you're sat down with Owen Morgan? It must be an absolute dream come true for you.
Oh, truthfully, mate, it's absolutely class. I love it because I'm massive into my sports, as you say, cricket, footy, boxing, and be able to talk to these people and even pick their brains, get this insight from people that I've watched. Like, what better insight can you get than Owen Morgan, mate? 29-8, like that final was absolutely ridiculous. And from other people I've spoke to as well, have just named him as like the way he handles it. But people like that, other people in the sport, when you're talking the likes of Johnny Nelson, talkSPORT's own as well, do you know what I mean? Spencer Oliver, all these great people in boxing, all these great people in cricket, spoke to Joe Root, Harry Brook, Jofra Archer, like, it is a dream come true. You hit the nail on the head when you see these people watching. But I tell you what, they're all min crack as well, a decent crack. So They say never meet your heroes, but you know what? I don't mind it. Like, I'll fancy keep meeting them.
Yeah.
Don't meet Olly Clink. That's what I'd say.
No, don't bother, mate. No point. Who's the biggest cricketing traitor? But it's got to be Steve Smith, hasn't it? It's got to be right up there.
Oh, Davey Warner would be a big one, wouldn't he? I reckon David Warner would be a big one.
Oh, yeah, nice. What am I doing today? I'm calling out Southampton. I'm calling out Steve Smith. What's going on?
I think it's all right to call out Australians when it comes to cricket, mate.
Fair enough. And for you, Southampton, probably.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Faraz, thanks very much indeed, mate.
Cheers, Faraz.
Pleasure, Ollie. Pleasure, Luke, mate. Take care.
See you later.
Top man. If you want to hear the rest of that Owen Morgan interview, by the way, you can head over to the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcast. How's That for a Pod is live right now. They were down at the Oval as well, ahead of the 100 too. But yeah, big change for England, Luke.
Absolutely. Yeah, look, they needed to be made, right? I was talking to Faraz there, asking him about the challenges. I mean, there's going to be challenges because the only reason that Stephen Fleming's coming in is because what's come before has not been good enough, right? So. Yeah, excited to see what comes in the future, absolutely.
Absolutely. We're going to chat about Chelsea in just a moment here on Clink and Moore on talkSPORT. Bit of a change in transfer policy. They're getting Dad's Army in with the likes of Danny Welbeck.
At some point, they needed some adults.
They had to.
And they've gone and found probably the most adulting adult ever in football in Jordan Henderson.
Yeah, exactly.
Apart from the arm break bit.
We'll chat about that in just a moment. This is Clink and Moore on talkSPORT in partnership with Toolstation. Open from 7 a.m. Monday to Saturday. Grab what you need. Get on site. Get it done. First stop, Toolstation.
Up and said you got 10 players better than John Stones.
I said all time. I didn't say Prem, but let's stick to Prem. All right, let's do this.
Go on.
Virgil van Dijk, John Terry, Rio Ferdinand, Nemanja Vidic, Vincent Kompany.
Yeah, that's five.
All right.
Yeah.
Are we going Tony Adams?
Oh yeah.
No,
you're not gonna say.
No, but go on.
I would.
Campbell.
I'd do Sol Campbell, defo.
And I'm a Tottenham
Sol
fan,
Campbell,
Sol
come on,
Campbell out.
come on, Jamie.
Keep going.
I'm going Sol Campbell.
Yeah.
Oh. Gary Pallister.
Carvalho.
Mate, come on.
Carvalho.
Don't help him. Why are you helping him? Carvalho's not better than John Stones.
Carvalho. Ricardo Carvalho.
Jamie,
Give
hear me
me a break, man.
On his day, prime for prime, one game for a final, Ledley King.
Yeah, Ledley King. What, you telling me Ledley King? Oh, come on, Jamie.
Listen, Jamie, not the career, but for one game in his prime.
I watched John Stones playing the Champions League final.
I know he was
City.
unbelievable.
He was unbelievable. So don't. Let's,
I hear it, but you know
come
what
on.
I think, yeah? I heard.
You can't be putting
Rory
Ledley
and
King
Addy
above John Stones. He's won 6 Premier League titles.
Phil Jagielka, mate. Phil Jagielka.
Holy shut up, mate. Come on.
I mean, mate, Jamie.
Jolyon Lescott.
I would go as far as to say if Jan Vertonghen and Alderweireld played in that City team, they might have won the same honours.
Gary Cahill.
They would have won the same honours.
He's on Gary Cahill's level.
You're just making a lot of noise, Cole.
This is Clink and Moore here on talkSPORT. I'm Olly Clink alongside Luke Moore. We're going to chat Chelsea in just a moment. But first, Toby Gillies is in the studio with some breaking news.
Yeah, so this relates to Chelsea, and it's a statement that's come out from the FA in the last 15, 20 minutes or so. Chelsea have been fined £10 million and handed a suspended 2-window transfer ban. This is for breaches of the FA's football agent rules. You'll remember that these were discovered by Todd Boehly and Clearlake when they bought the club, and they relate to the time that Roman Abramovich was involved, transfers involving the likes of Eden Hazard, Willian, Samuel Eto'o. We should point out that the players certainly did not do anything wrong. And Chelsea self-reported themselves at the time. The FA initially handed down the same £10 million fine, but also a suspended points deduction. Chelsea have now appealed. They've successfully appealed. That points deduction has been set aside, but in its place is this suspended 2-window transfer ban. Okay. So Chelsea, £10 million fine continues to be there, but this appeal has removed that points deduction, and it's now a 2-window transfer ban, also suspended, and that is until the 30th of June 2027.
Okay, Toby, thank you very much indeed. We'll bring you more on that story throughout the afternoon. Look, Luke, when you look at Chelsea's transfers so far, or at least the business they are looking to do, it is a shift, isn't it? From what we've seen before, they were only signing players seemingly all about 16 years old. Yeah. The transfer policy genuinely was pretty much, wasn't it, 24 years old or younger. But now they're interested in Danny Welbeck coming to the club and Jordan Henderson. Those deals look like they're going to be getting done. It looks like Xabi Alonso wants some generals in there, wants some experience in there.
I think it makes sense, right? I think it makes sense to bring in, like we said earlier, some adults into the room. Chelsea are very good at selling players. If you look at, say, they would have got 50 odd million for Andre Santos, who is, he's got potential, but it's not really set the world on fire. And they're going to bring in a midfielder in Jordan Henderson, who's kind of seen it all and done it all. I'm not saying that Jordan Henderson can anchor a Premier League winning midfield or whatever, but he's clearly got a lot of strengths and he brings a lot to the party. And I think it's a really shrewd move by them. And I was also thinking about the fact that if you look at who they signed last summer, Chelsea spent a lot of money, as you've alluded to, a lot of young players. How many of those transfers were actually successful? I mean, you couldn't say that Liam Delap was successful. You couldn't say that Alejandro Garnacho was successful because obviously he's moved on. João Pedro, fine, he did quite well. Jamie Gittins, a lot of money, thick end of 50 million. Has he done much? There may be things to come from these players, but maybe signing a couple of really seasoned Premier League war horses in the shape of Danny Welbeck and Jordan Henderson, if they both happen, is a really positive thing. Listen, I also think that there's an opportunity in the Premier League this season. There's a lot of clubs who have faced a lot of upheaval, a lot of new managers coming in at the very top clubs as well. Xabi Alonso comes highly rated. He's had success domestically before in Germany, of course. The Real Madrid thing, I think, is probably a bit of an anomaly. You don't read too much into that. If we can get them fit and firing, given how poor they were last season, given the fact they're not going to play a huge amount of football, there's an opportunity there for them.
Opportunity for what? Title race, potentially? I mean, especially when you think about the fact they don't have European football. We saw how much that helped Manchester United last time out. Like you say, they've brought in a very shrewd appointment in Xabi Alonso, who's been able to win a title with Bayer Leverkusen and go invincible, beat Bayern Munich to that title for the first time in forever.
Yeah.
Is it quite exciting for Chelsea? Are we looking at them as dark horses?
Well, the reality is, Ollie, that if you want to talk about a Premier League title race, you put Arsenal to one side because you say, look, they're settled. They've won it last year. They know what they're doing. They may strengthen in quite a dramatic way as well. If we've seen the rumours to be believed, they may even be stronger. But it is hard to defend a title. You listen to Sir Alex Ferguson talk about how difficult it was to lift his team, and he would put his back-to-back Premier Leagues as right up there with the very best achievements he had, because it was so difficult to combat that inertia after the exhalation of winning the Premier League. So Arsenal are going to have to deal with that challenge, aren't they? Other than that, I mean, it's open, right? You can talk about Man City if you like. They'll be second favourites. But they've got a manager who's following the greatest manager probably to ever manage in the game. And that's not an easy thing to do. I think Maresca's good, but it's a big challenge. And I think you can make a case against or for pretty much every other team outside of Arsenal who would be in that conversation generally. I mean, what do you think?
I just think, obviously, have Arsenal still as favourites. You have to. It's almost a courtesy.
Yeah, I think they're favourites. Yeah, they're favourites.
But at the same time, we saw the impact of last season on Declan Rice and Bukayo Saka during the World Cup. They weren't fit throughout all of it until the third place playoff, and they looked absolutely brilliant. But maybe that could catch up with Arsenal a bit this season if they don't do a bit more strengthening in this window. You know, if Declan Rice is missing potentially for some of the season. Look, it is all hypothetical, and obviously you don't want players to get injured. But when I look at Chelsea...
That's why they're going Guimaraes, isn't it? That's why they're going
exactly. But when I do look at Chelsea, I do think the lack of European football does play a massive part in terms of being up there. I agree with you in terms of Enzo Maresca coming in and taking on that Manchester City job, but it is still a club that he knows well, and he knows a lot of those players well.
Yeah, but it's just
he
big
did a good job at Chelsea.
It's big shoes to fill. Really big shoes to fill. I mean, come on. Yeah, have we seen... Look, you would say that it was quite interesting that Arne Slot won it after Klopp, and then the second season, by their own standards, was poor. You know, Emery comes in after Wenger. I mean, Emery showed himself to be a great manager, but that didn't work. You know, we don't need to talk about Man United after Ferguson. These big figures are hard to follow.
Yeah,
they're really tough to follow. And you know, mention Liverpool, they got a new manager. You know, they've won the Premier League in recent years.
What's your read on Liverpool?
Well, I think it's difficult to say because the thing I keep coming back to is when Iraola comes in at Bournemouth after O'Neill, it's really, really bad for like 8 or 9 games.
Yeah, he didn't win for 9 games.
He obviously wants them to play in such a different way. And there were murmurings that it was a bit kind of almost unsavable at one point. It was, what's going on? It's irreconcilable. So yeah, he starts going, and I wonder whether. Look, I'm not saying they're going to blink if it happens at Liverpool, but Liverpool have got a lot more scrutiny on them. And I think if you are a coach who manages Bournemouth, with respect to Bournemouth, you know, if they lose 4 games in a row, who notices?
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
No
it's
one
true.
will.
And whereas at Liverpool, it's going to be totally different.
Yeah.
But having said that, what do you think the expectation will be from Liverpool fans for Iraola this season? Is it simply to get Champions League again? Is it to be in that title mix? When you do consider the fact that when Arne Slot took over from Jurgen Klopp, obviously it's gone wrong since and he's lost his job, but he won the Premier League in his first season. So are they going to be expecting to be in that title mix?
I spoke to a lot of Liverpool fans last season, you know, following the year they win the Premier League. A lot of Liverpool fans got in touch with us on the Football Ramble. We get a lot of Liverpool fans listening to it. And the general consensus seemed to be, you know, Champions League qualification through a league position would be a minimum requirement in terms of a defence of the Premier League, right? I mean, it was, you know, if Arne Slot was going to be someone who was going to be there for a long time, clearly he's going to have his own players he wants. He's going to want to have a say in the transfers, all that kind of stuff. And so it takes a while to build stuff. Clearly they decided that it wasn't ever going to work with him, so they've moved on. But to me, it feels like off the back of a Premier League title win, getting into the Champions League again, it gives you a platform to build. You can attract players. You obviously get more money, all the rest of it. I think it's one of the most fascinating Premier League summers for a long time. When was the last time you can remember so many top clubs changing manager?
Exactly.
So it's going to be really difficult to know. And you know, one of the things that underpins all this chat about football is that no one knows.
No.
People don't know.
Yeah.
Who thought Leicester was going to win it? No one.
So true.
You know?
So true. Yeah, it could be a very, very open season. The other team we haven't talked about too much, and I'm not saying they're going to be in this type race, but it is Tottenham, given the fact that they've had 2 seasons coming 17th. De Zerbi comes in, keeps them up. But they have spent big this summer.
They have.
Too. And yet another team that won't be having any European football next season. How do you see them getting on?
Well, lucky to have Premier League football this season.
Yeah, well, true. yeah.
I talked about this with Will Gavin last Saturday, and I think you have to put a caveat above what you say when it comes to Spurs, because they somehow always find a way to conspire to mess it up. But I think their business this summer so far has been amazing.
Fernandez, Tonali.
They needed to do it, but what they've done I think has been great, and I think there might be more to come as well. And I think part of the reason for that is because it's just end game for them now. De Zerbi comes in under such circumstances where he's able to have so much leverage and say, if you want me to do this, if I keep you in the Premier League, here's what we need to do. Spurs have obviously been in a position to bring players in because they can pay money, because they're in London, because they're a big club. So they've started to make the kind of moves they need to make. I love the signing of Jean-Paul Van Hecke, ball playing centre-back, exactly what De Zerbi would want. Obviously worked with him before as well. But I think the other reason you can be supportive of Spurs as well in this transfer window and kind of applaud what they've done is because even the players they've sold, if you look at Vuskovic, who goes to Brighton, and Lancashire, who goes and leaves Spurs as well, the manner in which they've sold them looks to be almost like a glorified loan. It's almost like we get matching rights if he moves on, we get a sell-on clause, we get the right to get him back if we want to. And I think that's sensible as well, because Vuskovic is really highly rated. He's gone for a lot of money, right? Because he's, given the fact that he's hardly played, he's a very highly rated player, but they can get him back if they want to. They can find a way to bring him back to the club. So I think it seems for once quite a lot more coherent than it has in the past. Having said that, it is Spurs, so you have to caveat it.
You do. And also you could end up with a situation with De Zerbi. Again, he's such an unpredictable...
Yeah, he's volatile, absolutely.
So you're not really going to...
He's got such a good deal there because they were at such a low ebb. To attract him at that point in the season to take that risk, he was basically able to shake him down for a load of money and a load of demands, which they met.
Yeah, he's no Matthias Geisler though, mate. So.
No, that's true. Well, listen, I think that's exciting. You won't think...
I do think it's quite exciting now. Now, I've had a chat with European football expert Kev Hatchard. He seems to rate
Love Kev.
Yeah. Seb Stafford Blue as well, the German correspondent at Athletic.
He only moved on from Salzburg, where he did a really good job, because I think he was openly talking to other clubs and they got annoyed about it. And obviously he ends up following the money at Saudi, and now he's come back to the Premier League.
I know people will turn their nose up at the Saudi League, but it did a very good job there too, with a team that wasn't fancied to won the Asian Champions.
Well, I don't follow that league, so I'd have to take your word for it. But what I would say is that
I'm trying to convince myself.
And you should be doing that. That's your role as a Newcastle fan. But I think the argument I would make is that in the situation they're in, if you lose Tonali, Gordon, and probably Guimaraes, 3 massive characters, right? Big senior pros, and you're left with 3 or 4 signings they brought in who are young players with a lot of potential. They've missed out on big signings they wanted to get so far. In that situation, I think why not have a really young, dynamic, tactically driven, detail-driven manager who can say, do you know what? No one fancies us this season. No one fancies me, but we can do it together. I think that's a really nice way of looking at it. I think it could go well for them.
Yeah, a bit of pressure off. Just a reminder of that breaking news then that Toby Gillies brought us just now regarding Chelsea. They've been fined £10 million and given a suspended ban from registering new players for 2 transfer windows for breaching rules relating to payments to agents between 2009 and 2022. Right, there is live racing going on at Goodwood. It's the Thoroughbred Stakes. Let's cross over to your commentator, former jockey Lizzie Kelly.
Thank you very much. Yes, they have jumped away, and we have got Catulus leading in front as was expected. Shayam right behind him, 5 ways on the rail. The hot favourite, Talk of New York, about 3/4 of the way back. Yazin right there, and Dab, and also Saberstrike bringing up the rear under Tom Marquand as they come around the bend down into the home straight. We've got about 3.5 furlongs to go, and the front runner Catulus has got away from them. Shayam's trying to pull him back in along with 5 ways. The favourite, hot favourite, Talk of New York, just trying to get a little bit closer under William Buick. And Dab bang there, trying to make sure he's on his coattails. Saberstrike getting pushed along at the back of the field. But it's definitely Catulus who's trying to get away from them at the 2-pole. Shayam bang there. Talk of New York is going to struggle to reel them back in. Catulus just wandering around a little bit in front. Shayam trying to get a little bit closer over the 1 pole. And Shayam is just battling down Talk of New York, really struggling to reel him back in. But it's Shayam who's got away from them. Talk of New York trying to get there. Will he get there? I don't think he can. Shayam under Clifford Lee was the winner of that amazing performance. A good ride from Clifford Lee, a really good ride, and a very intuitive ride. Talk of New York was just not able to reel him back in. Catulus did stay on for 3rd, about 2 lengths behind them, but it was Shayam who's got home in front in quite a surprising fashion, and hot favourite Talk of New York beaten.
Shayam the winner then. Lizzie Kelly, thank you very much indeed. Remember, Racing TV is the only channel showing every race live from the Qatar Goodwood Festival and Galway Festival this week. talkSPORT listeners can enjoy a free 1-month trial of the channel. Head to racingtv.com/free trial now. Terms apply. Coming up next here on Clink and Moore on talkSPORT, we'll be paying tribute to Italian great Franco Baresi.
John is a Newcastle fan, joins us now. Good morning, John.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good, very well. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Very well.
John, hold on. John, are you John, the Jack Charlton's son, John?
Yes, I am, yes.
Oh, John, what a pleasure to have you on the show. Thanks so much for that.
Thanks very much.
Are you good? Are you well?
I'm very well, very well.
Good.
Can't complain at all.
It's quite ironic that you phoned up. You know what the date is today, right? July the 30th.
Yes, I do.
60 years ago today, your dad won the World Cup with England.
Yes, and funny enough, me and Eddie were talking about his medal.
Yeah.
I think there's only him and my Uncle Bobby who have kept their medals. Everybody else doesn't have them anymore.
Where's your dad's medal?
I've got it.
Have you?
Mm.
Oh, my
Yeah, I do.
goodness.
Well, there's a bit of a problem with it, actually. When I say I've got it, it was left to me in my dad's will.
Yeah.
But the taxman wants £200,000 off me in inheritance tax.
Oh, you're not going to sell it, are you?
No, I've had to give it back. I've given it back to my mother.
Right.
Because while she's got it, I don't have to pay that money.
How has he come up with that figure? I mean, this is a conversation for another day, sorry, but how on earth has a taxman come up with 200 grand inheritance tax for a World Cup medal?
I've no idea.
That's disgusting.
There's a German.
He will be always in the top 5 of greatest Italian players, of course. I think he would be the best Italian defender ever. The discussion is whether was he stronger than Gaetano Scirea, the libero of Juventus, who was 1992 World Cup winner. Was he in the same mold of Franz Beckenbauer? We are talking about that kind of stature.
Franco was mixed. He was very intelligent, first of all, nasty, quick, tactically was on a different level. He was always in the right position at the right time, and great leader. Didn't talk too much. He was always doing the right thing.
Yeah, very sad news. The AC Milan and Italy legend Franco Baresi has sadly passed away at the age of 66. Baresi, Luke, I mean, it's just one of those names you associate with being an icon of football.
Well, football fans of my age, I'm 45, so those who are listening who are around my age, perhaps a bit younger, a bit older, will just know him as being an absolute colossus of the game. You know, being the standout defender in the standout era for Italian football when it comes to defending, right? I mean, he was just an artist, you know, a colossus of the game. Played for Milan his whole career, stayed with them when they were relegated a couple of times in the early 80s, you know, was part of that amazing Arrigo Sacchi European Cup winning side who then defended it again in 1990, which at the time I don't think had been done before. I think until relatively recently that was the record that held for a long time. I don't think it was done in the Champions League for a long time. Obviously, Forest did it before Milan, didn't they? But regardless of that, just a brilliant reader of the game, just a classy Rolls Royce of a player, clean shorts all the time because he'd never really need to tackle. It's just, I mean, him and Maldini for us, who loved the glamour of the European game when we were young. Those two were the standout players. We just loved them, you know, and to see him pass away at such a relatively young age is really sad. You know, fantastic ambassador for the game. You know, just like I say, a colossus, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Joining us now is Italian football expert Tancredi Palmieri. Tancredi, very good afternoon to you. Very sad news this about Baresi, because like we've been saying, what a legend of the game the man was.
Yeah, buongiorno to you all. Colossus is a very apt word, I say, for Franco Baresi. And he's one of those players where when you list the Wikipedia cabinet of achievements and trophies and palmarès, it really is not telling the proper part of the story. And this, even though there you find 3 Champions League, 70 titles, whatever it is. We're talking about one of those very, very few players, and there aren't really many in the history of football, maybe 30, no more, maybe even less, whose surname becomes like the adjective for the position where they were playing. If we talk about the libero, the number 6, well, probably in the history of football, only him and Franz Beckenbauer reached that same top. That interpretation of that position being the background defense director of the operations, and still being so perfectly polished in the man marking, in playing without the ball, in directing the rest of defense, and the start of build-up, as the Sakis Milan was telling 20 years later, Cruyff's Ajax, and 20 years before Guardiola's Barcelona. And not only that, because it is the art of the defending, but the art of defending with space. There is a great quote from someone you would not expect, the German movie director Werner Herzog, who said, one of the very few from whom I learned how to understand space and directing it, and he meant in movie making it, that was Franco Baresi from Milan, which is the last, honestly, example it would come to your mind about some movie director that is using the space as a character in movies, learning that from Franco Baresi. And if of the many things he has done you want to watch only once, I warmly suggest you to go look for, there are those videos nowadays that are resuming in 4, 5, 6 minutes, all the things, the actions that involve a player in a game. Well, not because I'm Italian, honestly, but the greatest defending performance I have ever seen since I have memory, so make it since I have in 1987 until now, is the World Cup final of '94 between Italy and Brazil. Baresi had an injury at meniscus after the second game of that World Cup. He was already 34. Normally, if it is a light meniscus injury, an injury that involved a surgery operation, if it is a light injury, it takes 1 month to get back. It was the second game of the World Cup. If Italy would have got until the final, he had 22 days to be back. But still, you have to be back. You have to recover your form. You have to play a World Cup final against Romario and Bebeto as opponents. And you have to do it, mind, World Cup in USA, in LA, there were like 40 degrees Celsius, I don't know how much is in Fahrenheit, 100 and more, and impossible conditions. Well, 22 days later, not only he was on the midfield at the beginning of the game, exchanging salutes with Carlos Dunga before the game, he played the perfect defensive game in that final. It was unbelievable for the way he completely erased from the game Romario and Bebeto, being 34 and in that conditions. There are many angles from which you can look at one career, at one legend, at one colossus. If we have to choose one, that is the greatest example of how overcoming the opposite events in your life and in football.
Yeah, it's truly astonishing, really, isn't it? And there's been a clip doing the rounds, Tancredi, of the great Maradona wearing a Baresi shirt too, and just talking about how difficult he was to play against and how fantastic he was as a defender. And there's almost no higher compliment than that, is there?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I'd say that also underline the way how, unfortunately, and I don't want to sound old to the under 30 that are listening to us, but our times were different, because imagine if nowadays, I don't know, if Steve Gerrard would have wear the Manchester United shirt walking off the pitch and say, "Oh my God, this is disrespectful." No, it's not about that. It's when the greats recognize the greats, and Maradona surely was the greatest. And see, you have also to remember that in those 5 years between 87 and 91, Milan-Napoli was the best of the best you could get. Maradona and Careca on one side, Baresi, Van Basten, Gullit, Rijkaard on the other, and all the other things. there was also this cultural fight between, social fight between Milano as a city and Naples, immigrants and everything. But when you see the excellence, you can just avoid not to bow to the excellence, even if you are Diego Armando Maradona, who said in that extract, this is something I will treasure for the rest of my life. Maradona saying to someone else that is Franco Baresi.
Tancredi, thank you very much indeed for your time, and thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
There we go, Tancredi Palmieri, that Italian football expert. I mean, he's just in the pantheon of greats, isn't he, Baresi?
Yeah, absolutely.
Some of the names Tancredi was talking about there, and Baresi is so among them. I
think I agree with Tancredi when he talks about Franz Beckenbauer being the only real rival, but that was a little bit before my time, so I would prefer to talk about players that I can actually remember playing, and you can't really think of anyone better than Baresi.
Yeah, absolutely right. Very sad news. He's passed away at the age of 66. Right, in just a moment here on Clink and Moore on talkSPORT, Luke and I are going to discuss the future of Marcus Rashford. Might he stay at Manchester United? Stay with us.
The Asian Football Confederation in the last couple of hours have come out and condemned Gianni Infantino's proposals to sell off
very late condemnations, aren't they? They're all panicking.
Competitions. Well, they are. Obviously, UEFA have come out strongest by suggesting they would boycott all FIFA competitions, including the Men's and Women's World Cup, the Club World Cup. There's actually an Under-20 Women's World Cup that's due to start in September, so we may find out if they'll go through with that threat very soon. UEFA's 55 member associations held an emergency meeting earlier this week, and as I say, they voted a boycott if FIFA proceeds with plans to sell stakes in its competitions to private investors. There was a statement released by FIFA, I think it was 4 o'clock this morning UK time, so we were all napping. They said nobody is selling football, but they did vow to continue with the controversial proposal to sell stakes in its competition to private investors. FIFA, in their statement, claimed the consultation process had been, quote, disrupted by incorrect media reports.
My answer to this is that everyone always screams about FIFA's a bit of a dictatorship, but it's actually a democracy whereby you still have to have all the nations vote for this through, Alex, right?
Yes.
So Infantino can't just force it through. It was never going to happen that way, and I think it's dead in the water now.
Well, I was just about to come on to that. So in order for this proposal to be passed, FIFA's 211 members would need to vote. Therefore, Infantino would need 106 votes in favour.
Yep.
UEFA and CONCACAF members combined make up 96 of those votes. The AFC makes up 47. So
that's how democracy works.
It's dead, basically.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. It is dead.
Good run forward here from Jed Spence. Saka will take over after a nice touch from Rodgers. In he comes from Rashford, keeping his feet and winning the game for England.
What does the future hold for Rashford? My understanding is that he ideally would still like to leave United, still not particularly happy with the hierarchy there over the circumstances of his departure.
All a bit of a mess, isn't it? Considering, being a Manchester boy, you don't really like to see it.
If anybody can get him back in the fold, I think Michael, the way his demeanour is, the way Michael is as a character.
When you turn around to a club and say you want to move from a club like Marcus did, we know he's been out, and obviously he was at Barcelona next season, I just don't see a way back for him.
This is Clink Moore here on talkSPORT with me, Olly Clink, alongside Luke Moore, who you will know from the fantastic Football Ramble, of course. Luke, want to talk about Marcus Rashford because he's thanked Barcelona for the spell that he had at the club. Did well there, by the way. 14 goals, 14 assists. Then Anthony Gordon gets the move there. Makes it all a bit awkward in the England camp, I think, because they were battling for that place, weren't they, on the left wing? But is there a future, do you think, for Marcus Rashford at Manchester United?
I'm not sure.
Michael Carrick.
I mean, it's hard to say, isn't it? I think Carrick can put a lot of work into to make it a clean slate and maybe say, can we start again here? There's a new situation there now. I think they've obviously finished the last season strongly. They got to where they wanted to be. Well, got back into the Champions League and all that good stuff. I mean, what is interesting at this there's a couple of elements of this which are interesting to me. I'll be keen to get your thoughts on. One is that in his absence, Matheus Cunha's come in and done pretty good, right? And they're going to be vying for that position because that is really Rashford's best position. And the second thing is his wages are astronomical. So part of the reason that he's not stayed at Barcelona because of Gordon, as you said, but also because the wages will be gigantic. So it's really hard to think of a different landing spot for Rashford. And it may well be that they need to find a way to say that's all water under the bridge. I'm from Manchester. I came up here. It's a new regime now. If they can do that and they can get him to fight for his place and they can find a way to make it work because they're going to be challenging on different fronts this season, to me it makes sense for him to stay. I mean, he's shown he can have an impact at the club. If he can stay motivated and he can really knuckle down, I don't know if he can or not. I don't have any particular insight into that aspect of it. But if he can, it's a great asset for United, I think. I mean, I don't know how you feel about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think he had a brilliant spell at Barcelona, whacked a few past my Newcastle in the Champions League too. I thought he had a mixed World Cup, but at times it looked like he was fresh and fit and firing, and there's certainly a lot of talent there. I think it's the relationship with the Manchester United fans, which would be the sticking point.
That's why I said it needs to be a clean slate. And
exactly.
Maybe they can't.
What does a clean slate look like, though? Because I was chatting to a Manchester United fan the other day who said, right, if Marcus Rashford comes back, he'd need to apologise to us. Is that going too far? And by that, and I said,
well, that guy and his family particularly.
Just that. Yeah, just then. Then. Send them a letter, Marcus, and then you're right to play.
Well, because he said he wanted to leave.
There was a mix of things.
But the regime at United was, and arguably still is, a disaster.
Mess.
Yeah, and so what Michael Carrick's been really good at is he's come in, he's a name and a face that people recognise and accept because he played for the club. The results have been decent, right? And there's not really been any drama. I've always said, and I said it last week on the station, what will be interesting is when something goes wrong.
Yeah.
When there's like a big calamity with a goalkeeper like there was with Onana, and obviously Lamons has come in and done really well as well, and he's kind of just stopped all chat just by being competent, right? Until he played in the World Cup. But that's not Man United's problem. But what will be fascinating is when stuff starts to go awry. If they have a big heavy defeat or something, or there's another disagreement with a couple of big name players, how Carrick deals with that. I think to respond to your mate, ultimately, it's a new coach now, it's a new manager. And I don't think Rashford covered himself in a huge amount of glory with some of his performances and some of his behaviour. But I also think it's a pretty difficult situation to be in. The guy running the club seems like a bit of a clown. He can't not say stupid stuff. They cycled through man. The Amorim situation became almost farcical. I mean, it was almost ridiculous the way that was happening. So maybe he comes out and he says, look, I'm motivated, I'm here to stay, I want to play. And that might be because he can't go anywhere else because his wages are so high. But ultimately, he's got to play somewhere, right?
Yeah, that's the issue. Should another club in the Premier League be looking at him? The club that comes to mind is actually Arsenal. Obviously, they're trying to go after Vinicius Junior, but it looks like he's going to be staying at Real Madrid. They need to bolster up that left-hand side. Arsenal. Would that be a potential?
Seems like a natural fit, doesn't it? I think at his best, Rashford is brilliant. Has he always been at his best recently? No. I think the Barcelona was a fresh start for him, and I think he enjoyed it, and I think he wanted to stay there. And it hasn't happened for whatever reason.
He must be gutted, mustn't he? I think he must have showed enough.
It's a bit of a kick in the teeth, given they've gone and got another player from the Premier League who I'm not saying he isn't. He is better, but he would fancy himself as being as good as. So I mean, he's already in situ, right? He's already there. So yeah, that's got to be a kick in the teeth. But I mean, what happens sometimes with players? They get such big deals and they price themselves up and out of going anywhere else. You know, I don't know if that Arsenal thing would be feasible. It feels like a natural fit on the pitch, right? But we're led to believe from our colleague here, Ben Jacobs, from David Ornstein, from all these people in the know, that Arsenal are going hell for leather for Vinny Jr., who is a better player.
Yeah.
And a bigger name.
It does feel, though, if that Rashford situation rumbles on and Manchester United do decide that relationship is over and it is done, it could be one that Arsenal do explore. When you mention those wages there too, do you think it's a bit too easy sometimes for us as fans to go, just take a pay cut? Just take a pay cut and try and get some football elsewhere. He also had a decent spell at Aston Villa. We shouldn't forget as well too.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he was. I would say decent is right.
Yeah,
he was decent. He was impactful in places, and that never felt like anything more than just a temporary arrangement, though, to keep him playing so he could stay fit and all the rest of it. Look, I think is it too easy for us to say about taking a pay cut? I mean, he's 28. He's not. He's going to be 29 at the start of this season. Really, I think it's in October. It depends what his priorities are. You know, I think it's difficult for us to have a perspective on it because we're not multi-millionaires. At least I don't think you are, and I definitely aren't. I'm definitely not.
You know nothing, Luke.
Yeah. But what do you want to cement in this portion of your life? You know, you're a long time retired. Is it about money or is it about legacy? And I'd say he's probably satisfied the money question already. So it's not for us to say that he should take a pay cut because his attitude will be, I've earned that contract. I'm worth it. You promised me it. I want it. And he's within his rights to say that. But if his priorities are to actually, you know, get X amount of caps for England, you know, win more trophies and all the rest of it, then he needs to think about what's most important to him, I would say. I think he can make an impact at United if he can, like I say, find a way to make it a clean slate.
03717 223344. Manchester United fans, do you want to see Marcus Rashford back in the fold? I'd like to hear from you if you do want to see him there, because it feels to me, I might be wrong on this, but most Manchester United fans potentially think that relationship has ended.
Yeah, but I'm not a Man United fan, right? I can only speak on behalf of my position. I don't have any vested interest in Man United either way.
That's the thing. I think for us, from the outside, we look at it as talented player that could help out Manchester United, kind of makes sense, bring him back in. But I feel like the fans might have a different kind of relationship with it. But give us a text on that or a call. You can text 81089 03717 223344. The Commonwealth Games is well underway in Glasgow. talkSPORT bringing you all the action. Here's our reporter John Cushing with the day so far.
Yeah, Northern Ireland's 2022 gold medalist and 2018 and 2014 silver medalist Michaela Walsh will get the chance to go for another gold medal in her fourth game. She won her semi-final featherweight fight in the last hour, is into the final tomorrow. Rosie Eccles in the light middleweight category, Wales's 2022 gold medalist, and Chantel Reid of Team England, who have competed for Team GB, of course, at the Paris Olympics. They both go in the next hour. Scotland's Caitlin Rainey won bronze earlier, as did England's Lauren Mackey. Now, earlier at the athletics, Mel Woods won the Commonwealth gold for a second time in the 1500 metres. This time it counts. And at the velodrome, British rider Matt Bostock, representing the Isle of Man, will go for bronze in the men's individual pursuit later. The last time the Isle of Man won a cycling medal, 12 years ago, in Glasgow. Emma Finnegan is into the final, or the semi-finals, I should say, of the women's sprint. So is fellow Olympic gold medalist Sophie Capel of England. And England's Josie Knight takes on Wales's Anna Morris in the individual pursuit final. Now, athletics and swimming have to be in every Commonwealth Games, but you can choose what other sports are included when you organise the Games. So Scotland dominated the judo 12 years ago in 2014. They won 4 medals in Birmingham 4 years ago. So unsurprisingly, judo is in these Games, and there's 3 days of competition that started earlier. We're about to get into the medal-winning part, though. Summer Shaw and Eva Ewing for Team Scotland are fighting for bronze this evening, while England's Celia Toprak, who won silver 4 years ago, goes for gold in the final this time. There are tickets at Glasgow2026.com. You can check out more details there. This is the Commonwealth Games, and it's live across the talkSPORT network.
John, thanks very much indeed. We've got a text from Brian about absolute thrashings. We wanted to hear from times where you've lost, but Brian, once again, going for a win here. FC Queen's Park, he plays for Wrexham. We beat our local derby, Lex FC, 32-0 in the League Cup last season. Club striker Meatball scored 18 goals.
Meatball.
Come on, Meatball.
Filling his belly.
18
Filling
goals.
his belly with goals.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant stuff. I hope he got the match ball for that. You should get about 68 match balls for that.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. Anyway, we've got more live racing for you coming up from Goodwood in just a moment. We were also chatting, weren't we, Luke, about the best players in the Championship, because Jaron Bowen's going to be staying down there with West Ham. Down there.
Demeaning.
Yeah. Sorry, mate.
It's offensive.
Sorry, I mean, we'll be down there, Newcastle United.
It's one of the best leagues in the world, Ollie.
Yeah, we only spent 2 seasons in there, mate, from memory. Paul Merson at Pompey.
Yes, fantastic.
Mate, you didn't pick him out, Luke.
Fantastic, really good, fantastic player. I mean, he wasn't there for that long. But his impact was massive. He was miles and miles better than pretty much anyone he played up against in that 2002-2003 season. And the one thing I liked that he did as well is that he kind of admitted when Portsmouth were promoted that summer, he wasn't up to the Premier League, and he stepped aside. And Portsmouth were able to go and get Teddy Sheringham with his money, with his wages. So he was great for us. Brilliant.
Good man, Paul. Good man. There's another text here from Glenn in Bolton. We won 36-0 for Bolton.
We're only hearing from the victors.
I know. Come on.
Surprising when you think about it.
Come on, admit it, guys. We need the other team here. But Bolton Lads Club, Paul Molden, who went on to play for Man City, scored 14. Same year, he scored over 300 goals and got in the Guinness Book of World Records. There you go. Well done, Paul.
300 goals.
36-0.
You know what they say? If you're the smartest man in the room, you're in the wrong room. He needs to be playing a higher standard than that. 300 goals. Come on.
At what point do you think Paul went, I'm too good for this?
Yeah.
I'm a bit better than this, I reckon. 36-0. My local team won. This is better, Michael. Thank you for this. My local team won 3 games all season. All the games that I missed. The one game I won, man of the match, we lost 14-0.
He's a good club man.
I think I got players player in the season that I lost all the games. So there you go.
Well, the goalkeeper get that.
Great in the dressing room.
You guys ignored the keeper.
Yeah. Oh, ridiculous. Really. But yeah, keep them coming in on 81089, and any Manchester United fans too. We're just talking about the future of Marcus Rashford. Matt is a Manchester United fan. Matt, what do you want to say on this? Marcus Rashford, do you want him back in the fold at Manchester United?
Yeah, good afternoon there. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, we got you.
Great. Oh, yeah, I just wanted to talk about someone else, really, Cunha. I just feel like we're not talking about Cunha, his first season, the number 10 shirt. Why does he have to take a step backwards for Rashford to come back? He's done nothing wrong.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily about him taking a step back. I think it's about competition for places. Clearly, he's the guy that's come into because Marcus Rashford's time was seen as done, and he's done a good job. You can't argue with that. He's done a fantastic job, and he's done everything asked of him. And I think he will be a big player for United this season. But ultimately, you're talking about one of the biggest clubs in the world. You talk about the most competitive league on the planet. I don't think he's realistically going to expect to be untouchable and not have any competition for his place, because you know what football's like. If he has 3 or 4 quiet games, people will be crying out for someone else to come in and play. So you have to be realistic. And also, United are going to play a lot of games this season, don't forget as well. There's a lot of fronts to be challenging on, and they need to bear that in mind too.
Yeah, I agree with that. But what I'd say is with Carrick now as a manager, he's not a Ten Hag, Amrin style manager.
Thankfully.
We've seen in the past with the likes of kind of Garnacho about the attitude, breeding attitude, and my concern would be that Rashford could come in, be a squad option, there'd be a slight issue, and all of a sudden you get that kind of issue with the squad again and the disharmony. Where I think at the moment we're starting to get out of that period of time, and we're starting to get a bit more unity in the squad.
Totally. Yeah, I think that's spot on. I think you're well within your rights to have that opinion. I think that's spot on. I can't argue with that at all. As I said, when we were talking about it, if he is going to have a future at United, they need to find a way to get a clean slate between all of them. And if they can't do that, then it's best that he moves on. But as I said, United are going to be using a lot of their wage bill on a player who probably won't be able to find a landing spot unless he agrees to take some kind of huge pay cut. Or he's going to go and rot in the reserves. I mean, it's a situation that needs to be managed in some way. So I think we can agree on that.
Matt, great call. 03717 22 33 44. Right, it's time for some more live racing from glorious Goodwood, the Golden Mile Stakes. Let's hand over to your commentator, former jockey Lizzie Kelly.
Hi, chaps. Yeah, we're just pretty much getting loaded for this Golden Mile. The favourite is in Darlow, and he is just beginning to come forward to be loaded. Ancient Rome just coming in there now as well. This will be over quickly. They're set. And they're off and away and racing. We've got Ancient Rome who's come forward in Darlow, not far away. Blue Brother is also there. Scoville is pretty much bang up there as well. Bagnola Bay about in the box seat. Epps guard also on the rail. It's Sandalo that's travelling really well, just in behind the leader there, which is Blue Brother. Blue Brother taking them along pretty nicely, too tempting in there in the box seat as well. Ryan Moore on board Bunyola Bay, and also Scoville's taking them along. He's actually now got to the front, too tempting a little bit wider. Classic in there, Hawks, Bill, Carolean Bay, English Oak a bit further back, along with Ozat and Walsingham, and our back marker is Walsingham, actually, sorry. So we're taking them along nicely. Scoville along with Blue Brother. It's Ancient Rome on the inside. Ep Legend looking to get a bit of a split as they turn into the home straight. They've got 3.5 furlongs to go. Indola just trying to get a little bit closer, too tempting on the wider outside, along with Tribal Chief just trying to get a bit closer. Tribal Chief is just beginning to make a bit of a move, but we've got Scoville leading them along. Ancient Rome trying to get in there. Archivist trying to get closer. Archivist making a bit of a run on the outside. Classic trying to get closer. Ancient Rome on the rail. Epps Legend trying to get in there. They've got half a furlong to go, and it's Archivist who's managed to burst his way through Ancient Rome on the rail, but it's Archivist who's able to come through, and in the last few strides of that race he was very much on top. Archivist, Callum Rodriguez. Carolean Bay was able to get third. Classic managed to stay on for third. Sorry, Carolean Bay was second there. I thought that was a really lovely performance from our winner, Archivist. He came into this very, very happy, and it was Ancient Rome who finished fourth there, and Walsingham managed to cling on for fifth.
Lizzie Kelly, thank you very much indeed. Archivist, the winner then. Remember, Racing TV is the only channel showing every race live from the Qatar Goodwood Festival and Galway Festival this week. TalkSPORT listeners can enjoy a free 1-month trial of the channel. Head to racingtv.com/free trial now. Terms apply. Right, in just a moment here on Clink and Moore on TalkSPORT. We're in for Hawksby and Jacobs this afternoon. We're going to hear from the managing director of the England cricket team, Rob Key, in just a moment. This is TalkSPORT.
King Edward I, long live the King, gave us the best day that every fan, I'm sure they'll ever remember as a black and white supporter. But he should have gone after Fulham at the last game of the season. And I think the leadership have just let this one get out of control a little bit. They should have took ownership of that after Fulham at the last game of the season.
What was it after that game, mate? What was it at the end of the last season that you saw that you wanted him to move on?
Well, it was before Fulham, lads. So it was unfortunately it was after them lot beat us for the second time at St James's.
Yeah.
Now at full time, for the first time in his regime, a section of the fans turned on him, and I was shell shocked. Just stood there listening, and I just left the ground just with my mouth shut and obviously devastated. But since that match, and I could be wrong, some of the fans might come on and disagree with me, but there was a turn of feeling and chemistry inside the ground.
Okay.
But for the ownership and the chief exec to sit there and say by 2030 we want to win the league, they haven't been ruthless enough at the end of the season to make that change.
Fair comment.
Did they say that before or after that Sunderland game? Because that was around February, March when they said that, wasn't it?
It was just before. So we got our heads handed to us in Barcelona on the Wednesday night, and then it was the Sunderland game. 60 minutes, we played well, and then we just... It happened too many times last season. 28 points that we let just flutter away into the season. If we got even half of those 28 points, lads, we finished in the top 5.
Good afternoon, happy Friday. This is Clink and Moore here on talkSPORT with me, Olly Clink, alongside Luke Moore from the fantastic Football Ramble. Now, let's chat a bit more cricket. talkSPORT's editor, John Norman, has sat down with the managing director of English cricket, Rob Key, this afternoon. He admitted they're lucky to have appointed a coach like Stephen Fleming.
He'll be calm, he'll have a lot of gravitas as well, the credibility that he has, the knowledge, the understanding of the game. There is no one more experienced at working with international cricketers than Stephen Fleming. He's done that in the IPL for the last 18 years. You also do not forget the career that he had as a player. He is not going to forget about how you go about winning test matches and creating an environment and a team that can go and do that. He was an outstanding captain. I think he's one of the most impressive people in cricket as well. So I think we're incredibly lucky that English cricket can attract someone like Stephen Fleming to come and do this job, because that has not been the case for a long, long time. He could walk into any franchise job and do it and have an easier life. He is prepared to go there and try and take English cricket forward, along with Brendan, who, it's unfair of what gets said about Brendan not caring all that. Brendan can go off and do a lot of other things. He's a year and a half into a project in white ball cricket. That team is right on the way up in both of those formats. I think it's such an exciting time.
Our cricket editor, John Norman, joins us now. John, just before we get into the appointment of Stephen Fleming, Rob Key, when Brendan McCullum moved away from the Red Bull coaching position, was there maybe an expectation that Rob Key might also have followed suit? Is it a surprise that he is still in his position at the moment?
It is a surprise. And I think if Rob was... I think Rob would say that he probably was wondering whether he was going to retain his position as well, in fairness. You know, there are few that come away from an Ashes defeat still with their jobs. And, okay, Ben Stokes walked away from his. Brendan McCullum, it was removed from him. Yeah, I think there was a period where Rob Key was wondering whether, you know, that phone call was going to come.
What are your thoughts on the appointment of Stephen Fleming into that role? Another Kiwi in charge.
Well, first off, Rob makes it sound like he's doing it for free, right? Yes. I think it's the sensible choice. Look, 4 years ago, I was at Lord's, like I was today, as Rob Key spoke about the arrival of Brendan McCullum. Direct quote, strap yourself in, it's going to be a wild ride.
Yeah, he was right about that.
It was a wild ride. And I hope that everyone was strapped in. I think now you've got a position where it feels like the grown-ups are back in charge. I think that the Stokes-McCullum era for the first 2 years was as entertaining and wild, and it transcended the sport. They were phenomenal for Test cricket, right? I've never known more interest in Test cricket from people who were not interested in Test cricket than in those first 2 years. The problem was, much like Kevin Keegan at your club, you got to win. It's not enough to be great entertainers. You have to win. They didn't win, and that was where the fun stopped. I think in Stephen Fleming, they've got a really interesting guy who is a winner, has played at the highest level, commands respect, is a details man, and I think is somebody who will work really well with the returning Joe Root. I can't think of a better person to be taking over. If it plays out like that, then you'd have to say that Rob Key's done a good job.
Do we expect the cricket to be massively different? Is it going to be a big departure? And the second part of the question would be, do you have any concern that he's not managed at international level before in this way?
Well, I do expect there to be some difference in the way that England go about their cricket. You know, the events at Trent Bridge on day 4, when Ben Stokes strides out to bat and tries to reverse scoop or whatever for the first 3 balls, and then Harry Brook goes out and plays the most madcap innings you'll ever see and is out shortly afterwards. I don't think we're going to be seeing that. I don't think we're going to be seeing Joe Root trying to reverse scoop Pat Cummins' first ball of the day in an Ashes. I don't think we're going to see England declaring with Joe Root at the crease 100 not out at the end of day 1 of an Ashes test match. I don't think we're going to see Ben Duckett come out and say, oh, we kind of hope they'd score more runs so that the target could be even more. We'd fancy chasing down 600 and then getting bowled out for, 200. I don't think we're going to be seeing or hearing.
Good Ben Duckett, by the way.
Thanks, mate.
You're making it sound like
I'll leave the impressions to you, Ollie. I don't think we're going to be seeing that anymore. And part of me is going to miss that. But I think, not to that, I don't think we're going to be seeing the same kind of cricket. The international cricket background or lack of, we were kind of there with Brendan McCullum. Ideally, you'd have that.
Because it's a big statement from Rob Key, right? No one's got more experience working with international cricketers than Stephen Fleming, but it's a different type of cricket in quite a dramatic way.
And also, I think Andy Flower's probably got just as much experience, if not more. So I'm not sure it doesn't quite bear scrutiny, but you know what he's saying. But the point you make is a really good one. One of the other points that Rob Key made was that, when you are operating in the IPL, you are operating on such a high level of pressure and attention and focus. And also you're working with like mega gods of cricket, MS Dhoni type level, which you don't get it. There is a massive difference in terms of the pressure on an England cricket head coach as opposed to a New Zealand head coach, right? And I think that's where Brendan McCullum struggled a bit because he's still kind of used to what it's like in New Zealand. Stephen Fleming knows exactly what it's going to be like because he's been in India where there's 1.5 billion cricket fans on his back if his team does well or doesn't do well, and working with the biggest names in international sport, albeit not technically in an international environment.
What shape do you feel that we are in for the Ashes then, John, as England cricket fans?
Again, there was a really telling moment today. Rob Key said he believes this is a world-class team, right? Now, the World Test Championship table would suggest otherwise. The fact that England haven't beaten India or Australia home or away for the last, however long would suggest otherwise. But he then followed it up by saying, we didn't say only, he said we have one or two world-class players. Now, for me, to be a world-class team, doesn't matter who the coach is, you need at least 5 or 6 world-class players. And we've waved goodbye to a couple of them. Jimmy Anderson and Stuart Broad, Ben Stokes, right? So 3 of them have gone. That leaves 2, maybe. And there's some that may become world-class. So, answer your question, this time next year, we might be looking in a better shape. Some of those players may have come through, but we're still not looking like the side, to me, that's going to be challenging at the top of the rankings, albeit we are a side that I think should, on the face of it, win the Ashes next year.
Just finally, your Fulham going down, John, you think?
Is that a question?
That is
no time to
unfair
answer.
question. Is it yes or no, please, John?
John, thanks very much.
No, I don't think they're going down.
Okay.
I think there's 3 worse teams.
Okay, okay, big statement
But
there.
if you are going to want to play at the very top table, you need some world-class players, John. You've just said that yourself. So.
And
they've just lost some.
And Fulham have got none. Josh King might be world-class in about 4 years' time.
Yeah, we'll wait for that. John, thank you very much indeed, mate.
John.
There we go, John Norman, talkSPORT's cricket editor. Right, we're going to chat a bit about Newcastle in just a moment and potentially the departure of Bruno Guimaraes. Please don't go, Bruno. Please turn up for training. I'm begging you.
Stop this.
I'm begging you.
Stop it.
This is Clink Moore here on talkSPORT in partnership with Toolstation. First stop, Toolstation.
Absolutely devastated.
Go on.
If it was down to me, Eddie Howe would have been the manager for the next 10 years. I think he's been let down by the owners, the board. You've only got to look at the way the club's being run. I mean, how many directors of football, different people coming in, above him. His hands are tied. I don't blame him. I respect him for walking. 2 weeks ago, we missed out on a target and we said about other targets. 2 weeks later, we still haven't signed anybody. We're signing young kids. We're losing our best players. Isaac told the club that he wanted to leave after the cup final. Now, if a player doesn't want to play for you, get rid of him. They had the opportunity to get rid of him. We had a deal agreed, Ekitike to Newcastle, personal terms agreed, medical booked in, fee agreed in Newcastle. Hummed and hard out selling Isaac. As soon as he wanted to know, they should have said, we've got a replacement, sell him, Ekitike signs for Newcastle. They messed about. Liverpool ended up signing Ekitike, and then the new Isaac was going to go as well, so the player would line up to replace him. We lost them both. And then we ended up panicking last couple of days of the window, and we're saying 2 lads that wouldn't get a game from me on a Sunday morning. And that comes from the club, the board. Like, why are you messing around? Like, you had the situation. They dragged their heels, tried to show, like, we're not going to be pushed around by a player. They got embarrassed. And then the manager's got to front up every single week in press conferences, talking, what's happening. He doesn't know what's happening. He doesn't even...
Eddie Howe, we understand, is to leave his position as Newcastle manager after 5 years in charge at St James's Park.
I can understand probably the frustration. You can see it in his press conferences on occasion, you know, the frustrations that he had.
I was talking to Eddie on last Sunday. He didn't actually come out and say he was leaving, but just by his body manner, the way he was talking and the way he was very non-committal. And I walked away and I said to a friend of mine, he's going to leave.
I'm concerned for Newcastle fans with that one because, you know, I thought whatever all the changes going on, the recruitment, the change of recruitment, losing some of the good players, the one denominator that do okay with would be Eddie Howe.
Absolutely devastated. If it was down to me, Eddie Howe would have been the manager for the next 10 years. I think he's been let down by the owners, the board.
Oh, been some summer, hasn't it, for Newcastle United fans like myself. This is Clink Moore.
You won't shut up about it.
With me, Olly Clink alongside Luke Moore. It's like when someone goes on about an X2 match, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit.
Do you know what? Earlier I said I watched the League Cup final like 15 times last night, which I actually did.
Yeah.
I might put on the PSG 4-1 tonight.
Yeah, do it. I was at that game.
Really?
Yeah,
wow.
I went to that, yeah.
That's one of the best atmospheres I've ever seen.
Oh, it was amazing. It was part of the reason I didn't want to miss it. Their first game back at home in the Champions League for so long. It was an incredible affair. And no one thought they'd win that well against PSG.
No.
They were fantastic.
And what I love about that win too was the goal scorers, because Almiron scored, then the two Geordies, Dan Burn and Sean Longstaff, and then Fabian Schär. And look, Dan Burn came in post-takeover, but 3 of those were pre-takeover.
But you know what? It was one of the best examples I've seen of a crowd intimidating a team. Like PSG didn't know where to look. They could not do it. The atmosphere was like a cauldron.
Now, genuinely, Kylian Mbappe has done an interview where he was asked about the most difficult atmospheres he's played played in. Obviously, first he picks Real Madrid because that's where he plays, but the next one is St James's Park, and that shows the impact.
Does that make you feel proud?
That's Kylian Mbappe saying it.
Does that make you feel proud?
Oh, so proud.
Yeah,
so proud. And you were part of that, Luke.
Does that make you feel like you could get over Eddie Howe's departure because Kylian Mbappe thinks you've got a nice crowd?
Not really, mate. To be honest. Yeah. Look, it's been a very difficult summer so far with big stars leaving. There's the Bruno Guimaraes situation. Just to clear some of that up, because it has been so complicated the way that this story has been reported throughout the summer, because there's been Bruno's camp trying to get some messages across, and Newcastle have stood very firm saying that he's not for sale. He was meant to return to training today. It's understood that the club have allowed a delay to his return, and that he should be in their training camp in La Manga over in Spain. on Monday. That's what's expected to happen at the moment. But look, I'm worried. I'll be honest. I am worried that he will eventually be leaving and going off to Arsenal. Look, he must be looking around too and seeing Gordon leave and seeing the change of the manager and seeing Tonali and actually looking at some of those other players and going, I'm better than them. And at the moment, there's a chance to join the Premier League champions, Luke. So,
and I would say he's arguably, I mean, you'd know better than me, but it feels to me like he is probably their most important player. If you look at their record with and without him, that is horror show reading for Newcastle United fans if he leaves, not even taking into account the players that have already gone and the manager's gone. So it's and the other thing about it is you've got 4 weeks left of this. You know, it's just very early in the window. We're not sitting here at the end of August. We're sitting at the end of July. So you're either going to have a torturous next few weeks, or it's going to be like a plaster being ripped off over the next couple of days. It's going to be done. It feels to me there's too much noise for it not to be something in it. You know, I was reading that. The assessment on Transfermarkt, which is the website's worth looking at for transfers, 92% chance of going to Arsenal. You know, it looks like it's on.
Cheers,
right
Luke.
on yeah, well,
That's great.
What do you want me to say? It's not my fault, is it?
More stats.
I've talked loads about
what's going down.
Let's hear what you think about it, because you're the Newcastle United fan.
Well, listen. To be fair, I was just on the transfers. Do you know what's quite interesting is as much as they're bringing in very young players, and that is a slight worry because they're just so unproven. A lot of them have not much experience. It looks like they're getting closer to signing the keeper Lucas Hornacek from Braga, who's 24 years old, and not too much experience. But I am very glad they're getting a goalkeeper through the door because I think that was a priority position. But once again, it just does worry you a bit because he's clearly not the most experienced. And coming into this kind of situation for those young players, there's an element where it'll be sink or swim. What Matthias Jaissler needs to do when he's coming in here, Luke, is also try and get the best out of some of the signings that haven't impressed so far, that Eddie Howe actually couldn't get.
Who would be top of your list for that?
Anthony Elanga would be top of the list
for sure.
Me.
Yeah,
absolutely top of the list for me, because when you look at the other signings, look, Nick Woltemade started brilliantly and then dropped off, but you know, you could argue Eddie Howe was playing him in all sorts of different positions, tried to play him in midfield, it just wasn't working, and I think a lot of fans did get tired of those same old tactics because he didn't have the right tools for the style that he wanted to play. So there is an element of excitement about the fact that will be a refresh. You know, the reports are that Jaissler likes to play this kind of Red Bull style football. He's a student of Ralph Rangnick, but a lot of that is high pressing, which is what Eddie Howe would be trying to do.
You know, a lot of that. And Nick Pope's not your man, is he?
No.
Because maybe that's why the goalkeeper comes. I don't know the goalkeeper. I've not seen him play, but that's the thinking. Then maybe they do need to start, because that's the problem. The complaint you would make, I think, as a kind of outsider looking into football clubs far too often is it's not coherent enough. You know, if Eddie Howe leaves for whatever reason, the new manager comes in, they need to be able to strengthen in a way that is complementary to how the new manager wants to play. Otherwise, you're not giving yourselves the best chance. You're not giving the new manager a fair crack either. Do you think the timing of Howe leaving is quite odd?
Exactly what I was going to say.
Because the reports that I've heard that, you know, the writing was on the wall for a while. Yeah. So why not get out of the way and give the new guy a full pre-season? You know? Yeah. Well, he's coming off the back of a poor defeat in pre-season, where he's had to justify it in a weird way, which got people's backs up, and then he just leaves anyway.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we lost 4-1 to Bristol City, and Howe came out the day before all this news broke and just went, yeah, I thought we played really well, to be fair. Thought we played really well. It felt
absolutely last day of term stuff.
Exactly, yeah. Put a film on.
He's brought Scrabbling.
Yeah. But, you know, I think the timing is a big worry. You know, we're what, less than a month until the start of the season. It's only Liverpool in the first game. It's only Isak's first return to St James's Park. That'll be fine.
I wouldn't worry about that.
Nah, it'll be fine. And it's Spurs next who will have Sandro Tonali. So that'll be fine. I mean,
but if you are going to sell all your players to all the other clubs, sooner or later you're going to come across them again.
Exactly. But yeah, it's a baptism of fire, isn't it, for whoever it is coming in. We believe it's going to be Jaissler. But look, there's another way to look at it, that last summer Newcastle were going for a lot of these different players that were Premier League proven in some respects, or just very sought after, you know, the likes of Hugo Ekitike or even a João Pedro that they were after. I mean, the list was endless, really, of the amount of players that they did miss out on. This time around, they have shifted that transfer policy. Now, it looks like it's one of the reasons that Eddie Howe has left, because they haven't replaced those stars. But hopefully with a little bit more business and bringing a couple of players through the door that are going to help out this manager, they have to bolster up that midfield, especially if Bruno Guimaraes goes. There is an element of me, Luke, that does look at this as a new era and a fresh start.
I think you can spin it that way.
Yeah.
I think you can. I think if you look at it, you kind of blow your eyes a little bit. You can look at it that way. You can say, okay, highly rated young European coach coming in, big senior pros leaving, which is obviously a problem. But then you start to say, well, okay, maybe the older big senior pros weren't going to be that open to working with a young manager who wants to play football in a completely different way to what they're used to. And and you also do need to understand that players do move on all the time. Unless you're the very top table, it's quite common that players do move on. And maybe get behind the manager and maybe be excited about how they can play next. But the problem is that underpinning all that at Newcastle specifically is this feeling that's been going on for a while that the owners who fought tooth and nail to be accepted as owners of a Premier League club, lest we forget, seem to have lost interest in the project. They seem to have lost any kind of coherent strategy or plan for what they want to do. I understand, you can't just be a super wealthy owner now and go in and throw the money around like peak Abramovich, because there's financial rules in play now. But you can do a lot more than they're doing, and you have to ask yourself, why is a Johan Manzambi not coming to Newcastle? It's probably not because
going to Villa instead. That's the main issue.
Yeah, there has to be an element of it that he's not been convinced, or his people haven't been convinced by what's happening there.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, don't miss Saturday Fight Night Live from Dublin this Saturday. Pierce O'Leary against Mark Chamberlain is the headline at the 3 Arena as O'Leary puts his IBO World Super Lightweight title on the line in his first defence. Join DAZN Ultimate for 185 plus fight nights and 12 plus pay-per-views every year, including Italma against Hrgovic and Garcia against Ben, all included at no extra cost. We'll bring you more live racing in just a moment.
Boxing update on talkSPORT with DAZN, the global home of boxing. Sign up now at dazn.com/boxing.
Liverpool are set to place an opening bid for Bradley Barcola, but what PSG want and what Liverpool are willing to offer at the moment seems quite far away.
Yeah, there's a goal for valuation, but that's normal. PSG's starting position is £145 million. And my information is that in terms of the fixed fee, Liverpool are looking at roughly 80 million, maybe some add-ons on top. But that's the starting point. And knowing this is going to be a difficult negotiation because of PSG's starting position and the fact that they haven't signed Yan Diomande, Liverpool might need to be patient. And my expectation is it might run a similar course to Alexander Isak. And by that, I don't mean the player will agitate and go on strike. But what I do mean is with Alexander Isak, Liverpool placed what they thought was a fair offer early. When it was rejected, they waited until right towards the end of the window and the deal got done in the final hours. And you may note that Newcastle went from not for sale to 125 million, and somewhere in the middle, they were asking for 150 million about 3 weeks before the deal got done. So PSG's starting position, 145, very normal in deals for that to come down by 20 to 25 million. If Liverpool are prepared to go up by 10 or 15 million, suddenly the parties are not that far apart. So the first bid likely testing the water, and then we'll understand whether PSG are grandstanding or they genuinely believe that they can get over £20 million more than the deal that saw Morgan Rogers leave Aston Villa for Chelsea at 117 million.
Shin pads are a footballer's best friend. Even if players like Jack Grealish do wear such small ones you can barely even see them. But what's the story with shin pads, and are there actually any rules on how big they should be? It all started with cricket, actually. Cricketers had been wearing shin pads since the 1700s. It was thanks to this guy that shin protection made its way over to football. Meet Samuel Widdowson. He was a cricketer and a footballer. He played for Nottingham Forest back in the late 1800s, and he wanted a way to protect his legs from nasty tackles. Naturally, his mind drifted to his other favourite sport, where players had been wearing these pads for a century. Story goes, Willison cut up his cricket pads and popped them on before taking to the footy pitch. His Nottingham Forest team then began wearing them from 1887, and the first known use of them in a match was in 1894, in a match between Newcastle and the then Woolwich Arsenal. Eventually, FIFA clocked on that this kind of protection was pretty important for footballers. And so, in 1990, basically 100 years after Willison first put them on, shin pads were made compulsory. It became part of Law 4 of IFAB. That's the body responsible for setting the laws of the game internationally. But the law doesn't actually specify anything about measurements of shin pads. It just says they must be made of a suitable material and be of an appropriate size to provide reasonable protection. It's really vague, even though there have been calls for it to be changed. But for now, that's why Grealish and co can still get away with these ones, which are no bigger than a credit card and which seem to offer little to no protection whatsoever.
Good afternoon, I'm Olly Clink alongside Luke Moore this afternoon. This is Clink and Moore here on talkSPORT. There's more live racing going on at Glorious Goodwood. It's almost time for the Qatar Stakes. Let's bring in the former jockey Lizzie Kelly. Lizzie, very good afternoon to you. What can we expect from this one?
It'll be fast, chaps. 15 of them over 5 furlongs. They're pretty much loaded. We're just waiting for Dickensian to go in. It's only 5 furlongs, and so won't be a huge amount of time to get into it. Brussels just acting up in the stalls there, but they're loaded. And they're away and racing for the 5 furlong sprint, and it's Jacajaro who's out of the gates nice and quick, along with Lamborghini BF. Asfora not far behind. It's Argentine Tango on the far side as well. This side we have Partisan Hero, American Affair, also JM Jungle trying to get into it. Night Raider, the favourite, just tucked in behind them. On the far side, Jacajaro and also Argentine Tango and Lamborghini BF. Asfora bang there. They get to the 2 pole. It's difficult to know which group is in front. Jacajaro just getting nudged along. Lamborghini BF travelling well. American Affair going well. Night Raider trying to get into it. JM Jungle on the stand side. Asfora is taking it up on the far side. Time for Sandals trying to get closer. Asfora, and it's Lamborghini BF who's just been barged along there. Asfora in front this side. We've got American Affair coming. Time for Sandals down the centre. Romstar trying to get in there. Oh, it's really tight. It's American Affair. It's American Affair who's got up on this side. Oh man, she's got up in the dying strides there, and an impressive performance. Jim Goldie riding her, and I think it was Rumstar second, Time for Sandals, or indeed maybe Asfora for third. JM Jungle and Lamborghini in the 4th or 5th position there, but it was American Affair who came home the quickest at a big 12-1.
Lizzie Kelly, fantastic work. Thank you very much indeed. More live racing into drive a bit later on from Glorious Goodwood. Let's bring in now Ben Jacobs, talkSPORT's reporter. Plenty to get into with Ben, not just a bit of transfer news. But Ben, firstly, give us the latest on the FIFA boycotts. Gianni Infantino seeking private investors for the World Cup. All sorts going on here. What's the latest?
Yeah, so the British Prime Minister Andy Burnham has said that Gianni Infantino is the wrong man to leave FIFA. And the situation is that this FIFA forward enterprise that Gianni Infantino probably thought would be lucrative enough to pass without too many issues is now becoming a vote of either confidence or no confidence for the FIFA president himself. And what we know is that all 55 UEFA federations will boycott the World Cup if these plans materialise. CONCACAF, with a further 41 members, have come forwards and said they reject the proposal. So that's 96, and it only has to get to 106, 10 more votes in order for this to fail, because it's a majority vote and there's 211 FIFA members. The AFC have also stated that they are against the proposal. They didn't use the word unanimous. And my understanding is there are some federations within Asia that would still back Gianni Infantino, but we only need 10 collectively from world football for Gianni Infantino's proposal to fail. And then he's got a big decision to make, because if he puts it to the vote and loses, some would say he's not in a position to stand again for the FIFA president. If he shelves the plans, it will echo the Super League, and they will go just as quickly as they have come. And all of this means that the FIFA president is now under pressure. In addition, Carlos Cordero, who was pictured with Infantino and the US President Donald Trump, has quit his position as a senior advisor to FIFA. And that tells you in exclusive that we broke yesterday on talkSPORT that Gianni Infantino's inner circle are now turning against him.
I mean, let's be fair, Ben. He's finished here, isn't he? I mean, there's no real, conceivable way that any version of this plan can proceed without the UEFA nations, because the UEFA nations not being part of the World Cup is going to undermine and completely undercut any value that it's got whatsoever, and therefore, even at the sharp end of financial investment, people aren't going to want to invest in this plan. He's basically synonymous with this plan, and it's going to fail.
Yeah, it's going to fail. And also the finances behind the plans are not the true reality, because if UEFA are not part of it, how would you price up with the numbers that have been published? 40 million per federation. It's actually 2 payments of 20 million. But how do you come to the numbers if you're factoring in a World Cup that supposedly will keep expanding, a Women's World Cup that will expand, a Club World Cup that will expand, and a Women's Club World Cup that still needs to launch, plus all the other FIFA tournaments? And if everything grows commercially and also logistically, but UEFA are not part of it, then the calculations behind these numbers are arguably off, because if you're a FIFA stakeholder, if you are a sponsor, if you are an investor, you want the likes of England and France and Spain in the tournament, because they were 3 of the 4 World Cup semi-finalists. And as a consequence, it's going to be very difficult for Gianni Infantino to back up these numbers if he doesn't have collective support. But the bigger question is Gianni Infantino going to die on this hill effectively? And if the project goes down, does Infantino fall with it? And I come back to what I said before. My understanding is UEFA in particular view whether these plans pass or not pass as not just an indication as to whether they're going to boycott the World Cup, but as a vote of either confidence or no confidence against Infantino. And all we need is 43 member federations, 20% of the 211, to trigger a formal vote of no confidence.
Right, Ben, let's do some transfers because I need the latest on Bruno Guimaraes. It's been a tough week for me as a Newcastle United fan. What about the potential departure of our captain? What's the latest?
It's looking likely, unfortunately. It has been for quite some time. Obviously, Newcastle's perspective is that they haven't got a formal bid. But remember, this is not a typical Arsenal signed Christos Solis and had a verbal agreement. And then after you've got those numbers verbally, you place the formal bid. So there's semantics at play here, but talks are advanced. Bruno Guimaraes has not gone to La Manga today with the rest of the Newcastle United squad. Newcastle sources insist this is normal and that he only has to be back for training on Monday. And because he's been off in Brazil, he can go either back via Newcastle and fly out with everybody else, as basically every other player has done, and that is quite telling, or from Brazil directly to this La Manga camp, which is now, of course, Eddie Howless, and Matthias Jassler will be coming in as the new Newcastle United manager. But key to this narrative is a slight delay, and our understanding on talkSPORT is that Bruno Guimaraes has asked for an extra couple of days, and if all goes according to plan, will be an Arsenal player before the weekend is over, at least verbally. That's what Arsenal are trying for. If it doesn't, we should know Guimaraes will come back. He'll train when he's supposed to train. So we shouldn't misconstrue a delay of 2 days between him flying today and flying on Sunday, with Bruno Guimaraes doing what Alexander Isak did, which is going on strike. If there's no club-to-club agreement, then Guimaraes will be back, Guimaraes will train, Guimaraes will wait as long as he needs to in order to see whether this deal gets over the line. But my expectation is that Bruno Guimaraes will be an Arsenal player sooner rather than later.
Ben, who are these Newcastle sources? Because my understanding is there's literally no one left.
There's nobody left at Newcastle.
Yeah. They're all fleeing like a...
Well, obviously, we're not going to reveal the source.
Honestly, as well.
It's a sinking ship, isn't it?
You're delivering that news to me, Ben, and Luke is just sniggering in the background and then watching my reaction. I've got my head in my hands. It's not the news that I really wanted to. I was really looking forward to my weekend.
Yeah, but can I just say on that Newcastle United remains a big club with a huge fan base. And don't forget that this money is not just book balancing. This is not a project exodus, although it's probably fair to say that Eddie Howe considered the outgoings, but also was no doubt frustrated from the Alexander Isak saga and onwards. And PIF naturally want to be able to be ambitious, but they haven't been able to under the financial rules. And unless you get back-to-back Champions League football or European football, you can't build your project on big spending under the financial rules. But the hope for Newcastle is twofold. One, Matthijs Jasler is a top manager. And I know this because I've seen a lot of him. I've done a number of interviews with him. I've been over to Saudi Arabia many times. And people that say it's just a PIF hire from Saudi Arabia are not factoring in this Red Bull philosophy, this Jurgen Klopp influence, this front foot football, this love to go gung-ho and win games and in style, which is ultimately what the late and now unfortunately great Kevin Keegan did. So I think Newcastle, and Eddie Howe was attacking too, are going to be very entertainment focused. And anyone that says this is just some young Saudi manager that's a risk fails to take into account that he managed Bobby Firmino, he managed Riyad Mahrez, he managed Ivan Toney, and he won the Asian Champions League in back-to-back seasons. And Newcastle United will have money to spend. And my expectation also, to give Newcastle fans some hope, is Eddie Howe said he was leaving weeks ago and then waited for a replacement. So, of course, Newcastle have been a bit less aggressive in spending this Tonali and Gordon money, even though Bamba, for example, is a top signing, because they want to wait and see who's the new manager. We know that's now Jasler, and allow him to have input on spending some of the money. So I think Newcastle are going to be in for an exciting August of incomings rather than the focus only on exits.
Oh, I feel a bit better now, Ben. Thank you very much, mate. Really appreciate it. Thanks for your time, Ben.
All the best.
There we go. Ben Jacobs, talkSPORT's transfer correspondent. That was just like, after a breakup, it's going to be all right, mate.
Well, we did say there's another 4 weeks of the transfer window left, so they could make some
plenty
moves.
of people out there.
Could make some moves. Plenty more fish in the sea.
Plenty more fish in the sea.
As your Hinge profile says.
Plenty of fish profile. The Commonwealth Games is well underway in Glasgow. talkSPORT is bringing you all of the action. Let's check in with our reporter, John Cushing.
Yeah, and bad news for Rosie Eccles, who had hoped to be the first female boxer to win back-to-back light middleweight titles in Commonwealth Games history. But the Birmingham gold medalist has been beaten on points in the semi-final here at Glasgow 2026. India's Arundhati Chowdhury winning the first 2 rounds in a contest that had warnings and a standing count for Rosie. But in the end, the Indian just too strong and landed more headshots than the Welsh fighter. Chowdhury will now face England's Chantel Reid for a gold medal. The Derby fighter has just won her semi-final in that light middleweight against Australia's Lakeisha Pergoliti. But it's a Commonwealth Games bronze for Rosie Eccles and sporting retirement, as she's decided not to go to the LA Olympic Games. Elsewhere at the Velodrome, there's no Aussie or New Zealand women's sprint semi-finalists for the first time in 24 years at these Commonwealth Games. Olympic gold medalists Emma Finnegan of Wales and Sophie Capewell of England could meet in the final, though. And in the athletics morning session earlier, Jazz Sawyers, the team captain for Team England, jumped 680 to book her spot in the long jump final. She won silver in Glasgow 12 years ago. And Mel Woods is a Commonwealth champion. The 31-year-old former PE teacher won the rerun of the 1500-metre final, but she described the whole process to me as poor. Tonight, it's the women's 800-metre final. It's going to be huge. Team England's Georgia Hunter-Bell in action, live on talkSPORT 2 from 7 o'clock. For last-minute tickets, go to glasgow2026.com. This is the Commonwealth Games, and it's live across the talkSPORT network.
John, thanks very much indeed. We've been bringing you the live racing from glorious Goodwood, by the way. Racing TV is the only channel showing every race from the Qatar Goodwood Festival and Galway Festival this week. talkSPORT listeners can enjoy a free 1-month trial of the channel. Head to racingtv.com/free trial now. Terms apply.
Noticed that on social media, Curtis Jones liked the posts where Inter Milan announced Stones as a player.
He's acting like a spoiled brat. I saw his behaviour last night on the pitch.
This was after the friendly.
Yeah, I understand the frustration that you should have got the armband. He's been, he's a scouser. He's been there 20 years. Blah 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 blah. But to act like that and for it to carry on, because it went on for about 2 minutes.
Was it him and Dominic Szoboszlai?
Yeah, he was having a go at Szoboszlai, who handed the armband over, I think, to Tsimikas. Mm-hmm. And I believe Curtis Jones had the temper tantrum over that. It's just like that behaviour can't happen. Not from a graduate from the academy. He's too into himself. So if he wants to go,
source of his frustration not so much the captain's armband in a pre-season friendly, it's the fact he wants to leave, is it?
Yeah, okay, so he wants to leave. Well, okay, now Liverpool have to get the best deal for the football club. That's how it works, okay? You don't get to throw your toys out of the pram and do it slowly, knowing him, and then act like that. I just don't understand it. You're playing for one of the biggest football clubs in the world. You came through the system. Behave. Stop. That's all eyes are on you. That's not behind closed doors. That might go on in training and all those things, but you don't want to see that going on actually for millions of people to watch.
It's not great for Andoni Iraola, fresh in the manager's.
No, and I'm sure he'll move past that. And I think Szoboszlai was asked in the press.
So refreshing for us not to be just laughed at for having a decent title race.
Celtic 3, Hearts 1. There's no question now that Celtic will be the champions of Scotland for the 56th time. The Hearts players, Derek McInnes, the manager, look absolutely crestfallen. They know how close they were.
Rangers look really, really strong, and they're the team to beat next year. Make no mistake, and Celtic fans know that. They won't admit it, but they know that.
I think they'll seriously strengthen. I think they'll make 4 or 5 changes. I think they'll bring at least 4 or 5 new players in, and I think they'll build on it.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. The Hearts fans are absolutely fantastic, and we'll be back next season with a bang.
Football's back this weekend.
I know.
Believe it.
Comes at you fast.
Scottish Premier League's going to be back. It's absolutely brilliant, isn't it? But that is quick, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
I've only just dried my tears from England going out to Argentina. Yeah. Scotland fans were able to dry their tears a bit quicker, though.
They were.
Of course they were. I'm joking, of course.
Yeah, that kind of joke normally goes down pretty well from 2 Englishmen, doesn't it? So
yeah, very much indeed. God, I've been in for Southampton today. I've been in for Steve Smith. That's allowed, I think. Anyway, joining us now to look ahead to the season is the former Scotland striker Ross McCormack. How you doing, Ross?
Yes, afternoon, guys. How are we doing?
Yeah, good.
Yeah, really good, thank you. Just firstly, how excited are you for everything to be back?
Oh, I'm buzzing. It's been a long time. It's all right for you guys. You just went far in the World Cup. so at least you got some football to watch. We were out in the group stage. It wasn't ideal. But no, I'm buzzing for the league to be back. I think it's going to be a belter again this year. I think it'll be close.
Yeah, it was an incredible end, wasn't it, to last season, Celtic snatching it.
I was just gutted. Not because I care. I don't have any particular team in Scotland. My family are from Aberdeen, so that would probably one about to go for it, and they weren't involved. But just from a neutral's point of view, I was just gutted for Hearts.
Yeah,
because it would have been such a story, wouldn't it, Ross?
Oh, it'd have been massive. First time it's happened in a long, long while. But listen, I think they'll go again this year, Hearts. Tony Bloom's got a track record, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's not going to accept mediocrity. So I think they'll go close again this year. Whether or not they'll have enough, I'm not so sure.
What about Celtic then, who obviously got it over the line? Martin O'Neill has remained in charge too. They've surely got to be favourites heading into this season.
Well, do you know what? They've lost a lot of key players. I'm hearing another one's going out the door today. Anna Engels. I wouldn't be surprised to see Nygren go as well. You add that to Maeda, Schmeichel, Sirachi, Iheanacho, and Celtic have only signed 2 players. I think they need another 6 or 7 players in the door, so it's going to be difficult. But I think what they will do is they won't just add anyone, they'll add serious quality. They've already shown that they're willing to spend money on the 2 players that they brought in. So I think that's the route that they'll be looking to go down, quality over quantity.
And you mentioned that you think Hearts could go again. You don't have a concern about Derek McInnes moving on?
No, because I think if you look back, I don't think Derek McInnes was a Jamestown Analytics signing. I don't think Derek McInnes plays football in the way that Tony Bloom and Jamestown like to see. And what you've also got to remember is that a lot of the players that were signed from Jamestown, Derek McInnes didn't play them last year. So I think now they've got their own man in, they're making their own signings. It's obviously difficult to know because a lot of the players that have signed don't know the league, but if they hit the ground running, then there will be some good players in there.
Yeah, it's just the Tony Bloom effect, really, isn't it? How about your former club, Rangers, Ross? Lawrence Shanklin coming in from Hearts. That was a bit of a coup, wasn't it? How do you see them getting on?
They're the favourites for me, as it stands. I think Derek McInnes was a huge coup for them, getting him in, and then to bring Shanklin with him. He's obviously made him captain. He knows what he's all about. I think he'll score a lot of goals this season if he stays fit. And fingers crossed he does, both for Rangers and for Scotland. But I think they're the favourites as it stands. I think they'll go and add another few. Probably a couple of quality wide players into the equation as well. And if they do that, then they're going to be seriously strong.
Just while we've got you, by the way, Ross, I wanted to ask you about another of your former clubs, Leeds United, particularly because they seem to have pulled off a bit of a coup themselves, bringing James Trafford into the club. Do you feel as if it could be a bit of an exciting season now they've established themselves back in the Premier League again?
Well, 100%. That was the main aim, wasn't it, for Leeds? When you go up, establish yourself, stay in the division, then you go again. To bring someone in the quality of James Trafford, I mean, what is it, 40, 50 million pounds? I think if you look at that and you break it over the 5-year contract or whatever it is that he signs, I think 40, 50 million's a steal. He's going to be England's number 1 for me for years to come. What a signing.
Yeah, another player Newcastle missed out on. That's good.
Yeah, he didn't have a fair crack at it at City, did he? Because the situation with Donnarumma was a really strange one. He comes in, it's like, okay, he's going to be back there. He's going to play because he's so highly rated, and as Ross has mentioned, he's got a bright future. Then I guess they get the opportunity to sign Donnarumma, so they just go after it, and then all of a sudden Trafford's out on his ear again. So he does need to get his career up and running fully, I think.
Yeah, he'll get games at Leeds United. He'll go in there. He'll be the number 1. Fans will love him. For me, I think he's just about teetering on the edge of taking over from Pickford as it is. I think with regular games at Leeds United, a big club, I think he'll do that this season.
Ross, last time I saw you were in the talkSPORT paddle tournament. Went pretty far, I think, with Chris Awelamo. You've been playing a bit over the summer, trying to improve, get to the final next time?
I have been, yes. I like to go one better next time. What a day that was, Big Chris. I just told him, you stay at the net and smash everything.
I was going to say, I mean, how much of the heavy lifting was Chris doing there? Because he's an absolute athlete.
All of it.
Yeah, he's an absolute tank.
He might look to change partners, Ross, I'm afraid.
Not for you, Ollie.
Yeah. Oh, Ross, been a pleasure. Thank you very much, mate.
Cheers, Ross.
No worries, guys. Take care.
There we go, Ross McCormack. Luke, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. Thank you.
Pleasure's been mine. Thank you very much.
It's been very, very good fun. Coming up next here on talkSPORT, don't go anywhere. It's Drive Time with Andy Oladipo and Ashley Williams.
mean, I wake up every morning now feeling so lucky that Unai Emery's still there.
Yeah.
Because people laugh about these FSR, whatever they're called, financial fair play rules. They're a joke. Look at Aston Villa, right? Finish in the top 4, win the Europa League, and then your best player, Morgan Rogers, leaves. Why can't Aston Villa keep hold of their best players and then say, we're going to get to spend 150 mil like Chelsea, Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal, and then why can't we go and challenge for the title? These rules, they're there to keep the so-called top 6 there.
Yeah.
And this season coming, the so-called top 6, they call it, will finish in the top 6. I'm sure of it.
Gab,
Aston Villa, with what they're able to bring in, I'm going to be able to challenge.
Gab, I've had a
surprised.
conversation with you.
This time last year, that Unai Emery, this time next year,
Yeah.
we'll be lucky to have Unai Emery as the manager.
Gab,
Because
Gab,
it's great